Are we live yet?
We are now live.
Let me tell you guys about pornography. It's a very long and storied tradition in this our modern world. All began one day when somebody was thinking about boobs.
Jeffrey pornography.
But yes, Mr. Jeffers pornographers. It was very the name sort of mutated over generations. But he was the first man who was thinking about some boobs and was like, man, I sure would like to see some boobs. But behold, there were no real boobs that he could see at that moment. Maybe just nobody was willing to show him. Maybe he was just all alone. And so he took up a stick off the ground and drew 2 circles in the sand. And then drew smaller circles within those circles. And then he was like, oh yeah, now we're getting somewhere. And that is how pornography began.
I'll never ask again.
You didn't have to ask. I told that story completely unprompted.
I know.
Anyway, I guess we're going to see some Metroids today.
Speaking of pornography.
Speaking
I'm
of
not sure if we're gonna
pornography.
see Metroids, but we're definitely going to see some stuff.
Saucy Metroid pornography.
Incredibly
Sexy
hot
jellyfish
Metroid
in your area.
pornography. Ex-parasites in your area want no strings attached.
Oh god.
Yeah, I don't know if X-parasites are a better or worse concept for their being pornography. I mean, they can create, like, little perfect clones, so I don't know what that means for, you know.
Look, sometimes
So you're saying
like
they're
you
not-
It's in a trash
at least 8% of porn is people looking in the mirror and going, God, that person is hot.
Terrifying.
Self-esteem is terrifying.
Yes.
Never had it, don't know.
I have very high self-image of myself. I look in the mirror at me all the time and go, who's that handsome-looking fella?
That's a real good looking boy.
I don't have any mirrors in my house.
Really? Not even in the bathroom.
No.
Ah.
The bathroom just recently acquired a floor, so...
Oh, okay.
What if that floor had been a mirror?
No, that
though?
bathroom definitely doesn't have any mirrors.
Obviously. Are you planning
other
on painting a mirror? Like, not even like for vanity's sake, just for like, well, it's nice to have a cabinet that you can put your medicine in. Hence, a medicine cabinet.
Yeah, I don't have one of those either.
Planning on just staying in
Conveniently, I
perfect health
have
forever.
I have a convenient photo of where the mirror would be in my bathroom if I had one.
And this is where I would put my
In
bathroom
this
mirror.
beautiful idea.
If I had one.
I just put it in general.
I will look at this.
I just appreciate that you have this on.
That is actually really good.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like-
Well,
a
okay,
healthy way of doing
For
things.
context,
fantastic. A
I'm
plus.
currently going through the uploaded photos on my Google Drive so I can delete some so that I can put more pictures up. So it happened to be right in front of me.
That's still
Okay.
really good. Like, that is the most clever thing you can do with a bathroom that's deep in renovation.
Yeah, a friend of mine drew it, and I am not painting over that ever. I will put a mirror over top of it, but I'm not painting over it.
Yeah,
That's
like it
good.
needs to be there on call in case it's ever needed.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so when I moved in, what had been there was one of those mirror things with lights behind it.
Oh, one
And
Oh,
of
those
those.
are weird, yeah.
Right.
I know what you're talking
And one
about.
would assume that such a thing being mounted on the wall would be attached to the light switch in the room.
One would assume, but
Oh.
I live in a pretty old house myself. I'm used to certain quirks.
Yeah.
Lighting fixtures.
So the wire that went for the lights was actually stuffed into the space around the mirror, like basically that piece. I think originally there was a medicine cabinet and they had covered it with a piece of drywall, and they had not covered it very well. And then when they put a new mirror up, just kind of stuffed the wire into the space that was still around the thing, and then plugged it into the wall next to the light switch.
Bob, I gotta say, I'm gonna name him Ol Yeller. Ol Yeller here has killed you like 8 times in a row.
I'm trying to
It's
figure out
really
what the route is
impressive.
you're supposed to use. This is my main problem with the Emmys. I'm trying to figure out what route I'm supposed to use, but in the meanwhile, I also have to do a stupid chase sequence. So it's like, where do you want me to go?
Maybe you should just go somewhere, but faster.
That's what I'm trying.
Every time you say Emmy, I immediately think of the Sex Pistols song E.M.M.I., and I'm not sorry.
Nope, that was
Fair
not
enough.
the answer.
I feel like we
Not-
just
you're
went
not
through
finding
that.
the
Song
answer.
might be the answer, I don't know.
Did we not have this conversation last week?
We will never have this.
We'll never not have this conversation.
I'm busy playing Ace Attorney 4 now.
I don't know how you can focus on that and watch a stream. That's very impressive.
Listen, the second you become interesting, I'll watch the stream.
Curses. Okay, take 2. What the fuck was in front of me this time? Yeah, I actually got him on a counter. What the hell? I'm capable of doing that. Let's try going this way. God damn it, there was the exit. Okay. At least now I know where to go for next time.
I've done my very important work in the chat, as is my wont.
Gotcha.
Oh wow,
Hey,
you
you
actually
actually
managed
won.
to parry it. I'm so happy for you. I'm so fucking impressed. Now get back in there and die, motherfucker. You don't have the beam for this.
I was gonna say, I'm trying to remember if I have the grappling beam, and I don't. God
Good work.
damn it.
Talk about for whatever little it's worth. I think it's very funny that you're going to die for stupid reasons.
Oh. Alright, go back to talking about Ace Attorney. How is it anyway? I haven't picked it up yet.
I mean, it's 4 through 6. Your opinions will stand on where you feel about those games.
I liked is 4 Apollo Justice or
Yeah, 4 is Apollo Justice.
Okay, I liked Apollo Justice quite a bit. I especially liked the extremely unrealistic prosecutor who was not a sociopath.
That's one of my favorite things, that like the entire twist is predicated on the notion of you played 3 of these, you know that there's something up, and the answer is no, there's nothing up, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, like he actually, like when presented with a case where he had no reason to believe the guy was guilty, he just said, no, that makes sense. I actually care about the truth.
He's very nice, he's very nice to someone who puts both his brother and best friend in jail at various points in the game.
That is nice.
I mean, his
Doesn't
best
hold
friend
it
did
against
kill
you.
somebody. That did happen.
His best friend killed someone, his brother did kill someone, but at the same time, he does not hold a grudge. Doesn't even mention it.
That means that he is probably the most unrealistic part of any depiction of the legal system in human history.
Yeah. But yeah, Clavier Gavin is one of the more fun characters.
Yeah, I liked it.
I generally like the entire like conceit of 4, which just frames itself around just fundamental incorrectness in the way that crimes are, in the way that the legal system works. Because like the first 3 games obviously have this very idealized, we'll always figure something out, we'll always reach the truth at the end. And 4 is like, yeah, you reach the truth, and because of how fucking stupid this legal system is, it doesn't really help you that much.
Yeah. I also liked how it gave us like Dirtbag Phoenix.
Oh, Dirtbag Phoenix is great.
Yeah, like just like Burnout. He looks absolutely 100% like the kind of guy you could buy stoner for. You could buy him a weed from at a concert.
Oh yeah,
Or possibly the kind of guy who would just share his weed with you at a concert.
I was about to say, Phoenix definitely looks like somebody who would like share it because he's also trying to be cool.
Yeah.
I love
He's terminally uncool. He is not a cool person, but he will be cool.
I was a big fan of for years because I was like one of 7 people that had played the Japanese version before the game came out. For years, there was an insistence among fans that they had censored out that Phoenix was like constantly drinking wine, when the entire joke is that no, he's like, it looks like he's drinking wine, but the entire joke is that he's just drinking grape juice out of a bottle.
I mean, you do have to understand where that thought came from the same people that gave us like, oh, we're eating donuts right now.
That wasn't Ace Attorney that did that. That was burgers for them.
Oh, excuse me.
A
There's
choice
that
made.
fucking awkward zombie comic that I love. That's just like Phoenix explaining why, yes, we're in LA right now. And then it's like just cuts to him like wearing a kimono, sitting at like a traditional Japanese like low to the floor table, eating with chopsticks, and he just turns to Apollo and says, "Eat your burgers, Apollo."
It was a choice that had been made in the initial localization. The entire like reasoning as to why, like, people say LA, the games never actually say anywhere.
Yeah.
The choice had to be made because the first game, the first case of the first game revolves around converting time zones.
Right.
And so they had to pick something that was like, here, what's a time difference people could reasonably suss out. And so they went with like the west coast of the United States to Paris. I forget what it is in the original Japanese version. It's Tokyo to someplace, but I couldn't say precisely where. But yeah, so they had to live with that, and since for the first 3 games, it's never actually depicted where they're going, it was easier to, like, what is someplace that, like, a normal-ass person goes in the U.S.? Burgers.
Okay.
Because it has to be both someplace a normal-ass person goes and someplace that's, like, exceedingly cheap. Because that was part of the joke as well, that, like, the big celebration that a lawyer has after, like, getting a client acquitted is, we're going someplace extremely cheap.
We're going to McDonald's.
And extremely American.
It didn't have to be extremely American, but, like, most places that are extremely cheap in America are extremely American.
Yeah. Like...
Jimmy's Curry Shack.
Yeah, because, like, you can get good, there, like, in the city you can get, like, lots of good ramen, but you're usually going to pay more than you would for a burger.
Depends on what city anymore.
Yeah, I mean, even in a nice city, I feel like you're probably going to pay more than you would for a burger.
Like burger is American is shorthand in America for food that you get on the cheap, that also is relatively tasty. It is a cultural staple.
But yeah, there's some interesting things about, like, that initial game's localization, because I remember paying attention to it before it even had a name in English. Like, reading a preview for it when they were like, yeah, we're localizing it. No, it doesn't have a name yet. So we're just, like, currently having to say, hey, we're bringing Gyakuten Saiban to the US. But it's interesting because, like, they had, like, a whole bunch of different pitches for what to call the protagonist. The localization staff's first choice was actually initially that he was going to be named Roger Wright.
I see that.
good a choice as any, honestly.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was like it had a very comic booky feel that the localization team liked, and
I think they made the right choice with Phoenix.
yeah, that was apparently an insistence of some part of Capcom Japan / the original, like Shu Takumi, the original writer. They wanted the mythological connection, and the because like there's a lot of references in the original script to like the dragon motif in the name Ryuichi, the Naruhodo Ryuichi. So they kind of wanted to like Wright fulfills the Naruhodo joke because Naruhodo means something like, "Oh, is that so?"
I've heard it translated as OIC.
Yeah, OIC is another way of putting
basically,
it.
Those are pretty synonymous, though. Like,
yeah, like you could translate it a few different ways, but like any of them would be like, "Oh, I guess I understand now."
Yeah, no, I get it.
And so,
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That too. Could be any of those. There's a big dead thing, Gagabob. You found the big dead thing room. Congratulations.
The big dead
Is
thing
it
will
dead?
inevitably no longer be dead eventually.
I
There's
absolutely
a big
love
undead
it.
thing at some point.
I absolutely love, like, as a game detail, anytime they just put in the background of a video game, like a 2D video game specifically, a big old dead thing.
Like you
Here's
know
a big
you're gonna
dead
have to
thing.
deal with it eventually.
just like a fucking enormous dead thing. Has to be huge. If it's just a normal sized dead thing, I don't care.
But yeah, it's. I think that the remastering work on Ace Attorney 4, the techniques used work a little better than they do in 1 through 3 because the original artwork is just a lot more detailed. So like up-resing it with the techniques they use tends to make it look. It doesn't look as weird.
Okay.
Which is nice.
They had to redraw a ton of it, right? Like, unless they had, like, the original art that got super scaled down for originally the Game Boy, but eventually the DS.
Yeah, the DS games, I would imagine that both of them probably had... like, Capcom, surprisingly enough, is one of the rare, like, companies that generally has, like, really good source control. They have a very good archive internally, which is why you'll sometimes see them pull out some really strange things. They had... they still have source code for the N64 version of Resident Evil 0, for example.
Okay, yeah.
And they were able to, like, pull out new footage of it when the HD remaster came out on PS4 and Xbox One. Because they just sort of had it and could actually go. So, like, I think they probably do still have the source art. There's, like, a million unused designs for Phoenix and Apollo. Remember, there's some really funny shit involving Apollo. Like, a very, like, this could only have been a concern naming someone in Japanese situation with Apollo, because, like, they had certain name kanji that they wanted him to have. In Japanese, he's Ororoki Hosuke. And they had certain name kanji that they wanted him to have. But in order to reach the correct... In order to have the correct ones, they had to insert at least one that didn't make... that was going to end up just not making a lot of sense. They just had to live with the fact that, like, oh, we want, like, certain connotations with the kanji in his name, so we're going to include, like, King and Happiness and a few other like ones like that. But also, in order to make those say the word be pronounced the way we want them to, we're also just going to have to include the fucking kanji for mud.
Mud King.
Mud King Happiness. Odoroki, as I recall, means something like all of a sudden.
All right. I suppose that's like roughly equivalent. Well, there's no equivalence to that in English, but I do get the like burning need to spell your name with an X somehow. That makes sense to me.
But yeah, so that's why they ended up picking like Apollo for his name. It's like, oh, it has like some of the same connotations of like light, regality, and also like mythical connotations of Apollo being associated with the law.
Also, it sounds like Apollyon, son of the devil from Pilgrim's Progress.
Probably not where they were going with that, but it's true, it does. But yeah, I could just randomly talk about this forever, so I should not. But it's a good package. They've been lovingly remastered.
That is cool. I see you died again, Gogglebob.
Yeah, I got killed by like grubs.
I love it when grubs just like get super fucking pissed at me.
Also, fun fact, the initial pitch for the first Ace Attorney game was a Game Boy Color game called Survive-A-Bon.
What was the thing you
I don't want to see... I kind of want to see the mock-ups for that. Like, I doubt...
They've been released.
Damn.
Like, they released the pitch document. Although I don't know that it ever... Like, I don't think on Game Boy Color it ever hit the point where they had, like, any sort of prototype. But they did release the pitch document for what it was, for what they were looking at. And, like...
I just want to see, like, the super low resolution, Game Boy resolution... And honestly, the Game Boy Advance didn't have like that much more vertical resolution. A lot more horizontal, but not much more vertical.
What was it? Did Lufia have a game on Game Boy Color? Like it. I'm not saying the graphics were bad, but like if you wanted to have expressive characters on the Game Boy Color, you could pull it off.
You could. The Game Boy Color had a few weird tricks up its sleeve, and one of them was like a high color bitmap mode. You see used extremely rarely. I think the example that like lives forever in my brain is at the start of the port of Dragon Quest III. You're basically gets talked to by a being intended to be some sort of like judge that just takes the form of a very, very pretty waterfall graphic. That's very obviously like a big, like them just pushing, it's really obviously just them showing off what bitmap mode can do.
I've posted an image of what the very first proposed design for Phoenix looked like in the Survive-On pitch document.
Wow, I'm glad they left that one on the cutting room floor.
And this is...
They improved on it a little.
This is the character design that was proposed for Edgeworth when he and the villain of the first game, Manfred von Karma, were the same character.
That's not bad. That one works for me. I can't get over like a prototype Phoenix's enormous goofy bow tie. But
it's real bad.
But that's a pretty good, like, obviously evil dude.
Yeah, so at that point
regular
in the proposal,
black suit, that's all it takes.
It's the beard.
goatee
It's really
helps a lot. The goatee helps a lot.
But at that early in the game's writing, Edgeworth and Manfred von Karma were the same character. And so instead of being a 20-something and a 60-something, they were a 40-something.
That makes sense.
That makes a fair amount of sense.
The character designer, when talking to writer Shu Takumi, was sort of like, yeah, it doesn't feel like he doesn't feel like a fitting rival to the protagonist because they're at such different places in their lives. Like we need, like, would it be okay to have someone who was a little closer in age to Phoenix? So they like split this idea of, okay, we'll have Edgeworth and we'll have karma, go karma in the Japanese one.
I think when it comes to like lawyers specifically, you need to have like rivals who could like theoretically be at the same bar together on Friday night.
Yeah, 100%. As somebody who works at a law firm, yes.
Yeah.
The consequence of that is also why the characterization of Edgeworth in the first game is insane. And,
Oh yeah,
He has never stopped being insane, just in different ways.
Well, what I mean is that like the character is always a little crazy, but like the way that the characterization shifts on a complete dime halfway through case 3.
Oh yeah, that was kind of nuts.
Right,
is a
recall
consequence of the fact.
what exactly happens there. It's been a while since I played.
So in Ace Attorney 1, the first case goes to a lot of trouble to make it clear that like Edgeworth has never lost a case, was able to become a prosecutor at a remarkably young age, and is only interested in like having a flawless, undefeated record in the court. And
He like commits like mad perjury in that first case, though, right? Like multiple times.
he does. He definitely. He's not ever called to the stand, but he absolutely is implied by the story to be potentially meddling with evidence and definitely intimidating witnesses.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
both of those
like-
things are.
Like he does a lot in like some of that. You can chalk it up to like early installment weirdness. They hadn't really decided that he was like this noble soul yet in their earliest my game. So like there's a lot of he's actually just kind of an asshole.
Yeah, like it's because originally he and Manfred von Karma were the same character.
Yeah.
And that character was always the villain.
Yeah.
But so eventually when they split those two up, they still had like a lot of cases written for the game that sort of treated them like they were the same person. And so they had to like go back in and in future games sort of retcon it as like, oh, he had like a reputation for that, but it was like a lot of it was professional jealousy, blah 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 blah. They had to like go back and try to fix that after the fact. There's a lot of stuff in that first game that like they end up having to like try to right around in the future in one way or another.
He was having a bad day.
It's one of those things that like it's always weird to me that a lot of Ace Attorney fandom sort of treats 1 through 3 sort of like they're one big game, like there's like some sort of coherent scheme to how they're written, and it's like they're all very clearly written one after another by the seat of their pants. And it's clear that Takumi, the writer on all of them, wants to write longer stories, like multi-game arcs, and wasn't really given a chance to do it until Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which, when it was released as like Daigyakuten Saiban 1 and 2, very much like playing one without the other, you do not really get the full story. But well, good luck getting up there.
Not happening.
But you can turn into a ball now.
Yes, I got that at the end of the last.
That's important.
Oh. I was paying attention, I promise.
I think
Don't worry, Gogglebot wasn't.
and like quit early, if memory serves. So you are forgiven. Fanboy is never forgiven.
I mean, but also I can breathe this time, and you know that makes a difference.
Yes, you are no longer poisoned by your own possessions.
Significantly less, at least.
Yeah, I will continue rambling because you cannot stop me.
Oh no, keep doing that. The Phoenix Wright series, Ace Attorney, is definitely, it's something that, like, this is something I also feel like I experienced recently with Super Mario RPG. I enjoyed them when I played them the first time, but just in my brain, and it might not even be accurate. In fact, I'm pretty sure it isn't. But in my brain, I think that kind of took a while, so I'm unlikely to play them again. Because, like, I feel like in my brain I've got, like, a million games that are new that I haven't played yet. So I never really get back to the Ace Attorney games, which now, like, when did the first Game Boy Advance game come out here? 'Cause, like, we were talking about the first game,
2006.
and, like, what was the year on that?
2006.
Yeah, good God. So we're coming up on, like, 20 years.
It's a legal adult as of this year.
Good God. But yeah, like, I can remember where I was when I was playing that. I remember the people in my life, and yeah, it has to be that long ago.
There was a period when I was an even dorkier teenager than I am, even dorkier as a teenager than I am as an adult, where, like, I adored the series so much that basically whenever I didn't have a DS game to play, I'd just be sort of casually replaying one of them.
Which is awesome.
Which is why I probably finished Ace Attorney 1 at least 20 times in my life. Like, just start to finish playthroughs.
Dang.
Which is a wild thing to do about a game that has literally no variations. There's no option to play that differently. It's always going to be the same way. But it's like if you have, like, a favorite comic that you just sort of, like, flip through every so often.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I can say that probably when I was a similar age to, well, probably a little younger, from dorky teenager to kind of dorky middle school, but I play Final Fantasy VI has variation, but it doesn't have significant variation. Like, and I played through that game. I like literally. I've mentioned this on my own site. Like, I literally made up my own stories for the characters. Like why are they randomly walking around the overworld type stuff? And
You're writing
just,
fan fiction, baby.
yeah, no, I mean, that's basically what it was. And, like, you know, that was something I was doing, and, you know, doing it and enjoying it, to be 100% clear. Not like somebody was holding a gun to my head, so believe me, you don't have to explain it.
Imagine someone holding a gun to your head to do that.
Play more Final Fantasy VI! Okay, man. Just everybody be cool. You have to save General Leo. No.
I don't understand why FF6 fans love that dude so much. He's in 2 scenes.
It's because he dies. That is 100%.
Which guy in Final Fantasy VI?
General Leo. I'm gonna show you a picture of him, and you'll never have seen him in your life.
Okay. Gonna be honest, I have never seen most Final Fantasy VI shit in my life.
He's a really strange looking, like, his design is very different from basically everyone else in the game. But like I said, he's only in like 2 scenes.
My
He's just
theory,
supposed to
and this
exist
is
to
not
sort of
supported by
imply that the
anything.
Empire isn't 100% evil.
My theory is
That is a very weirdly drawn face. And
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's racist, but I mean,
See, this
I'm
is the thing.
I'm struggling to find another word for it.
I genuinely believe that they were going to make the entire Empire in the original concept for Final Fantasy VI racially coded. And then they gave up on that idea because it was a terrible idea. And I
Maybe
Also,
someone was like,
like,
maybe you shouldn't.
Who's the guy who like fucking did all the art for Final Fantasy back then? Anno?
Yeah, Mano.
Yoshitaka Amano. This was one of the few
Amano,
characters
yeah, okay.
for this game that he seems to have actually made.
My hot take on his art, I've mostly just seen like a shitload of covers and like concept art and stuff.
That's
My
what
hot
most of
take
his
on
stuff
his
is.
art is that he does not know how to draw anybody who's not like just a terribly emaciated ghost, all wispy and pale and like piningly looking at the scenery all longingly and shit. That's like 90% of the drawings of his I've seen. He
Emaciated
loves
Ghost is his jam.
He loves just tiny, thin people like pining away. That's his thing, and this is his attempt. Yeah, they all look like they are just affected by deep longing, and this was his attempt at drawing somebody. And, like, I am struggling to find a way to say what I think he was trying to draw without sounding like an absolute asshole, so I'm just not gonna. This was his way of drawing somebody who, like, had a healthy body weight and was not pining. and was not extremely pale. And
Can't do not
obviously, I feel like that was like 5 steps outside of his comfort zone that he just could not take.
Yeah,
This is the result.
the thing that's always been kind of a weird thing to do with Amino is that people didn't seem to have a keen understanding of what his actual role was.
Dude just
I
shows
mean,
up.
he's a concept artist, right? Like he does character designs, I assume.
No.
No? Okay, what was his role then?
So like he gets the credit is often given for like character design, but that's not it. He designed some of the characters in 6, but those are like the only ones he ever actually designed for the franchise until like he did design work for 9 as well, but that one a lot of those had to go through other artists as well. Like the quote unquote character designs for the first like 5 games, they were sprites originally, and he was a character illustrator. He was paid to like make promotional artwork of his interpretations of the characters, which is why none of his artwork has ever even remotely resembled the sprite work.
Okay, like that's like a relic of older video game eras when like these sprites were largely interpretational, and as a result, you had sort of like a need to have somebody like draw them and say, okay, but this is what they're supposed to look like. That's also kind of cool. Like I've read that Ken Sugimori of Pokemon fame did like most of like the drawings for Gen 1, where we made a sprite, please draw it so that it looks like a thing.
Yeah, well, I felt like that was also a thing, and probably why this got going in Final Fantasy, because like basically you had such a disconnect between monster and combat designs and what was going on in the overworld.
Well, that's because, like, for the monster design, you had, like, what was it, 16 by 16 pixels to work with?
Yeah, something like that.
It's bigger than
It's
that,
not a lot.
The thing I would also keep in mind about Amino's work is just that, like, he was a big get for the series because he was a guy you would hire to make the covers of fantasy novels.
Sure.
Let me see if I can. I believe he was famous for first really rose to fame for. I'm not sure if this was his first rise to fame or if it's just one of his most famous works, but the covers for a series of very popular Japanese fantasy novels called The Heroic Legend of Arslan.
I'm just imagining like a trashy American romance novel with like Fabio and some lady who almost has her tits out, just drawn in the Amano style. Just two extremely thin
have
people.
tits?
Man, you ever seen some of the illustrations for FF2? His idea of fucking what's her name, Maria? Like
Yeah,
that has
Maria.
like this weird boob cup. But
Extremely skinny people can have tits. That said, their tits don't normally mesh with horny artists' proportions.
let me see if I can. Yeah, like I can't describe it as anything other than a boob cup. Like I'm just gonna drop this in Sex 2.
Oh yeah!
Because
Finally,
it's
somebody
not,
using Sex 2 for what it's supposed to be used for.
it's not per se NSFW, but again, boob cup.
And
click
also, this was the same era where he was responsible for drawing the emaciated chocobos, right?
Yeah, those were
That
again
is-
right
purple one.
first.
Which one are we talking about? The yellow one?
I'm describing the yellow thing as a boob cup.
Okay.
That is absolutely like the proper description for it. I don't think it's even connected to anything.
It seems to be connected to the thing.
Yeah, it's connected to
falling
like
from
You're
the
right.
neck.
like the neck thing, but like
It's
that's
unclear
it.
what is adhering it in place around the boob, other
I
than
mean,
I
I
guess being
assume
well
she's
fit.
got like a
Double-stick
piece. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. She's got a piece of double-sided tape under there, like
Maybe
like
something around
strippers
the
use
back.
with their tassels.
Yeah, it's a really weird illustration. Like it's slightly more loyal than some of his like drawings of the dudes. Like one of the wildest things is that like the Japanese cover of FF1 is where like whenever you see the Warrior of Light depicted, who looks just nothing like any of the characters, like
Oh
literally
yeah,
none
no.
of them.
The Warrior of Light being FF1 canon is great because he is. There's literally he is nobody in the game. There is no Warrior of Light character.
There's nothing that looks like
I guess
him.
you could say he's Fighter, but like not.
He
even
doesn't
that.
look like Fighter at all. Like he's a weird, like that's why whenever they like depict him as doing things, he always has like a mix of classes.
My hot take is that Squaresoft should have just like leaned way the fuck in on Brian Cleavinger's
I was
interpretations of
expecting a bit
characters.
theater here.
Yeah, yeah, you were right to, because I'm right to think this.
But
Should have just been
Yeah.
like a group of absolutely dysfunctional wackos who blindly fumbled their way into killing a chaos god.
Hey, guess what? That's how Stranger of Paradise goes down.
that is kind
I'm
of
here
how
for
Stranger
it.
Paradise goes. What I was gonna say was I do since we brought it up, I do want to credit that the actual character sprite artwork from FF1 that he was hired to illustrate, and I should say FF1 through FF6, the sprite artist was a woman named Kazuko Shibuya.
Okay, good for her.
Just,
Because she did some seriously good sprite art. Like the Final Fantasy sprites are iconic as hell.
the assumption, especially among English speakers, was that that Amano had drawn the characters and then someone had like disloyally made sprite art.
Okay, well that's
yeah, that was
just,
definitely my assumption for years.
I mean, like it's not like
because that's how like the English translation of the credits often listed him as like character designer, which brings with it like the assumption of, oh, you made the character and then like someone interpreted it into the game.
I don't think I gotta say I don't think we can totally disregard that. The dumbass sexists probably had like a tiny little point on this one.
I mean, I didn't even know that the pixel artist was a woman, just simply that, like, this was the concept artist, and why would they be doing it backwards?
Yeah, like it would be. I feel like a way of translating what
Do
he
you
is.
need the grapple beam for that, Goggle
Yeah,
Bob?
definitely.
You do. I feel like a better way of like describing what he's doing, I would have said character illustrator.
Yeah, that would have been a better term for it.
The hype
And it especially muddied the waters because like people were referring to him as character designer at the same time that they were referring to, especially in contrast to Nomura as character designer, which was the process you think of, where he draws a character and then it gets interpreted into the game.
Yeah, and like that becomes, I think, more and more like the old style of we made a sprite, draw a picture for the box, please, becomes less and less of a thing as graphical fidelity gets higher and higher. Because like there could be like a last gasp of that in like the PlayStation era, because the blocky ass polygons of that day, especially of FF7, absolutely could have just been like, I made a dude. Somebody draw a guy based on these like 14 boxes.
But there was actually like a lot of choices in FF7's character design that are made to communicate a very easy to create silhouette.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. Final Fantasy VII, for all the shit I give it, actually has excellent character design in that regard, because you could always tell everybody apart on overworld and in battle. Like there's no concern about that, even with the very limited graphics.
And then when 8 comes around, Nomura starts deciding to do things as a specific like. I've put this as part of the character design to challenge the modelers.
See, that's just a dick move. Like those guys' jobs are hard enough already.
It's not so much a dick move, so much as like it's something that I think that it's what?
I said belts.
No, the belts were for FF10. FF8 it was the fur fringes on Squall's coat. Will the modelers like it was a challenge to the designers to I think you can make this communicable. And to be fair, you can tell on his model that there is a fur fringe on the collar of his coat.
Yeah, that's doable. People gave Nomura so much shit for belts and zippers, but honestly, that shit was fun. I
like belts.
The complaint I saw multiple times was, they gave Donald's hat a fucking zipper. Yeah, because it makes a smiley face. Come on.
It was definitely done for fun.
It's cute. You can't. If you're getting pissed off about that, I don't know what to fucking tell you.
It is Donald Duck. I'm not sure what you want from him.
Yeah, Donald Duck is allowed to have a little smiley face on his hat. That's not illegal.
Obviously, I am known for my opinions on Kingdom Hearts, but
Noted Kingdom Hearts knower.
Noted Kingdom Hearts guy.
Noted Kingdom Hearts knower.
Yeah, a noted Kingdom Hearts knower. But I will say that I would not envy the person who has to adapt characters that have been around for nearly a century into let's make them still 100% recognizable, but vaguely different for this franchise.
Yeah, because if they don't look at least a little bit Final Fantasy-ish, what are you even doing?
Still thinking about one of my favorite things to ever see is Kingdom Hearts Pete seeing Steamboat Willie Pete, and also just the image, the notion that creates that where it's just Pete being man, I miss when I had a sailboat.
I miss when I was happy.
That's basically what he's saying.
No, he's I did not know how good I used to have it. He was in charge.
He was in charge. He had a tail.
I was getting bossed around by Maleficent and these fucking 13 dudes wearing trench coats and shit.
Technically, Pete has no idea who the 13 dudes are.
Yeah, he is strictly being bossed around by Maleficent.
I don't remember the plot of Kingdom Hearts 2 beyond that it certainly had one.
He is not allowed to be. He is not allowed to be clued in on the existence of Organization 13. He does not have to.
He doesn't have clearance.
He is free.
A grade.
God, now I'm just remembering the frankly bizarre Twitter thread that Dan Olson did when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out to just be yeah, I'm gonna try this and see if I can. See if it's as impenetrable as people claim, and he's he finishes it and is nah, that was pretty understandable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a remarkably straightforward. The biggest problem, I will say this before and I'll say it again, the biggest problem Kingdom Hearts has was between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, and the fact that they decided that in order for there to be a twist, there would be no less than 3 different characters who could be identified as Ansem. And the entire problem there is they did it to include a twist, and it is something that just it gets very confusing very fast if you want to
very stupid twist
follow the shell game of it. But all you really need to know is this, it's literally not any more complicated than the nonsense that was pulled in Harry Potter with the I've got multiple parts of my soul out elsewhere. It's been done. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
The other thing
I like that our friendship officially started with me asking you to tell me who Ansem was, and you wrote 800 words.
And you didn't even spell Ansem correctly.
Why would I?
Surprise anyone.
You said Ansem.
But the thing that I'll say about it is the other thing is yeah, they wrote a bunch of stuff with no idea where it was going to go because they had no idea how many games they were going to have to make.
Well, I mean, I will say that the first Kingdom Hearts 100% did not have any intention of bringing Ansem back. Because that is a story about where taken...
Yeah, I mean, the first Kingdom Hearts had no idea if they were going to get to make a sequel.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine. But just the first Ansem is just portrayed as a king who met Mickey Mouse, and then Mickey Mouse introduced him to basically, hey, look at these weird things, and he got really obsessed with the weird things, and then basically destroyed his entire kingdom because he got obsessed with the weird things.
You know how people get obsessed with
Tales
weird
all the
things are.
time.
And in the end, he's like all obsessed with the weird things, and he's like, weird things are bad. And then Sora's like, what if weird things are good? And then he dies. The end.
I don't know if I
But-
ever finished the first one.
I remember the ending because, like, you see the like shadow of Mickey. If I say silhouette,
He
I'll
pulls out a
pronounce it
second
wrong.
Keyblade.
And he's got a Keyblade too, and I think Riku's got one as well. And like,
He doesn't have one at that point.
Yeah, no,
He
at that point,
is
Riku,
like,
at that point, Riku is just kind of evaporated, actually.
right,
he's around. He reappears to help close the door, but that's it.
yeah. And like, I think Pluto was there. Briefly?
Pluto is there as part of the sequel's stinger, where it's like, oh, Pluto has a letter. I don't think that letter ever gets opened.
Hold on,
Because
my
it
wife
just
just got
exists.
home.
But yeah, I don't think that letter ever gets opened because it just exists to get them to Castle Oblivion when Chain of Memory happens. But like,
They would have forgotten it after Chain of Memory anyway.
I mean that does make sense canonically. But yeah, like Kingdom Hearts 1 was never meant to have, or at least it was always meant to be open for sequels, but it was never meant to have one per se.
Right. And there was no reason for it to reuse the villain. Like, the villain was theoretically spent, but they definitely, let's say...
Like, because everything, because the entire, like, potential meta plot revolved around the Heartless, and they had already spent, this is the guy who made them, they had to do a bit of legwork to say, okay, no, there's still things we can do with the Heartless, and we kind of have to because the game is still called Kingdom Hearts.
Yes.
But
Yeah, well, also
it's one of
that
those
led
thi-
into the creation of... There are no less than, like, 7 different Kingdom Hearts, depending on who's trying to get it to come about.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's just sort of irreconcilable without saying, oh, someone was saying something extremely weird and not being clear about it.
Yes.
Like, not the least of which is just like, in Kingdom Hearts 1, it's the Keyblade. In all subsequent games, it's a Keyblade.
Yeah, and also just the functionality of a Keyblade is also completely bonkers, too, because basically the original Keyblade, as Sora uses it, Sora uses it as a sword, and it seals things. Like, that's his entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
By another 3 games later, it is revealed that Sora could be using this to generate armor and a surfboard that
Fly
allows
through
him
space.
to fly between planets. He just doesn't know how.
Well, no one taught him. That is explicitly the problem.
Oh,
He
yeah,
was
that
never
is
taught at any
100%.
point.
Well, I've said before that basically plot-wise, Sora's deal is that it's kind of like if you went back in time and fictional, yes, but just for the example, you went back in time and met King Arthur and gave him a laptop, and then you came back a year later and found out he's been using that laptop as an axe. Like, that is
It's
pretty
worked
much
quite
what
well.
happened there.
But it's like his I love that the entire purpose of him is that like everyone else has a more like human response to emotions, and he's just a good dumb boy.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it.
But in a universe of light and darkness, like the most heroic thing you can be is just a good dumb boy.
Well, and that's the other thing about when people talk about the Kingdom Hearts plot being, like, convoluted or whatever. Legitimately, if you wanted to have, like, a, I don't know, more serious game, Sora by Kingdom Hearts 3 would suspect literally everyone he meets as being like an Ansem or a
Some
agent
sort of
the
Xehanort.
organization or whatever. But because Sora is a good dumb boy, everyone he meets is, oh boy, will you be my new friend?
And you need someone like that in that plot.
Yeah,
It's
well,
important to
because
have a good
otherwise
dumb
he would,
boy.
like, could you imagine going to every Disney World and just literally he suspects everyone of being
I never got to
evil?
this guy in my playthrough of this game. That's how far I got.
It's like, Elsa? I don't believe you.
God, I love how like Disney clearly had like strong opinions about what they were allowed to show of Frozen to such a degree that they basically just made the world completely incoherent because they weren't allowed to show anything that actually happens in the movie
My
other
favorite
than the one
thing about the
musical
Frozen
scene.
world is that the villain for the entire Frozen world is 100% right. All she does is stand around and taunt Sora and says, "Don't get involved in this. Like, you're just going to
Did you
fuck
never
it up."
get involved in it?
And we know because of how Frozen worked that yes, if Sora isn't there, it is on all work out.
Also, they were so protective of it that you couldn't just have Elsa in your party. So instead, you just get a Yeti.
I mean, I will say that I absolutely
Not even
love
Olaf?
that you get a Yeti.
You do not get Olaf. You get a fucking Yeti in the party, which is incredible.
This is what, the third one?
This
Yes.
is from Kingdom Hearts 3, yes. Which
Okay.
means it's like the 8th one, but it doesn't matter. The point is, like, the party member
I
you
think I
get...
owned the second one, but never finished the first one. So.
Did you
The
finish the
second one's a
second
better
one?
game, but...
I don't think I ever started it since I never finished the first one. But I own it.
You needed the lore. Well, now you can buy, like, on the most recent systems, you can buy, like, the entire franchise for $12, and I barely exaggerate.
Kingdom
But I
Hearts, the
already
story...
own a physical disc, and
Yeah, but the new version has better content, has more content.
I got
won't
too
be
many
able-
things. I don't have... Okay, the newest, not counting this laptop that I am currently using, the newest video game system that I own
Yes.
is... well, okay, I have a Wii. But before that, it's an Xbox 360 and a PS2.
Listen,
So in other words, you have all the
I
good ones. You don't need anything else because you have all the video games you'll ever need.
And I still have the GameCube, because if I wanted to turn in the GameCube, I would also have to turn in a controller, but I have 4 controllers, so why would I do that?
Exactly.
This is who I am as a person, okay?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up, like, just to corroborate Yago Bob's, like, statement. On no particular discount, on Amazon, the Kingdom Hearts all-in-one package, PS4 game, which contains every Kingdom Hearts game that has yet been released, is $40.
For a
It's,
PS.
yeah, on PS4.
Yeah.
I was writing a terrible tweet. What happened to Birdman?
Burn.
He got killed by this thing that just killed me.
Yeah. These things are tough.
Perps.
Yeah, I need to figure out his pattern for a second.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to. I got distracted by the
Kingdom Hearts conversation.
Kingdom Hearts conversation, and also just the fact that I was like standing around talking for a while. But that's right. I now have this ability to do a air dash.
Yeah, the air dash is really cool. I like that bit.
The air dash is really cool, and it's also like the answer to like a bunch of different fights.
Yeah, it's a huge, like, just... This is how you deal with certain aspects of the combat. Yeah, I really liked some of the later boss fights just for being like, oh, a Metroid game with interesting boss fights. That's fun.
Yeah, I'm of two
Okay.
opinions on it because, I mean, it's almost like what we were talking about earlier in the chat regarding, oh, I have learned that Metroid is not meant to be played with, like, weak breaks, but it's the kind of thing wherein I technically want good boss fights, but by the same token, when it's like, I just got item X and I need to remember to go use it to bypass the problem Y, like, I don't want my brain to then switch into combat mode where I have to figure out, like, how am I going to beat this boss? It's a very tight balancing rub. Also, I played this out before and I will point it out again. Samus is a dick for just leaving her, like, fake dad here just a corpse and not doing anything about it, and it does come back to bite her in the ass.
I mean, what was she supposed to do?
Yeah, like he doesn't.
I mean, just
Doesn't
like a
have
nice
One of
little
her
place-
arms is a gun.
a nice tasteful burial would be fine.
Again,
But-
one of her arms is a gun.
Yeah, like she's supposed to drag the body all the way back to like
A
somewhere
save
where there's
point,
dirt
maybe.
you can bury it in.
But what would dragging it to a save point do, sir?
I mean,
Yeah.
it just seems like a place.
That would not help with the thing that you're bringing up, for one.
Also, I make no
Different
apologies for the shit I did in chat.
You've never apologized for anything you've done in chat, so...
Could not
Why are
disagree.
you starting?
Prince Hordkin says Samus has to get the shovel attachment first.
Where's the
Seems like a
lie?
cruel thing to just leave the dude there.
He's
there
dead.
wasn't a lot of options.
Can't have an opinion on it.
There
Now,
weren't a
there
lot of
is something to be
options.
said about like the respectful like treatment of remains, but like this is not a situation where she can make that choice.
This was not really a choice. It was a choice thrust upon. But in conclusion, I'm going to play more Ace Attorney.
Good call.
And I would also like to point out for those of you paying attention, I remembered I had the air dash, and I think I might have beaten that guy without getting hit once after dying immediately first. It's like that's right.
Yeah,
Here's the answer.
yeah.
God, I love how fucking world weary that Phoenix is for basically the entirety of Ace Attorney 4.
And
Just
how old
like
is he supposed to be at that point?
he is 33.
Oh, okay.
That
Wow.
sounds about right.
That's, I hate how like certain video games and TV shows just go, oh, you know what, like the point where you're basically dead already. Why even bother continuing to live is?
30.
They don't act
28.
like he's old. They act like he's world weary, which is fair given what he's been through.
Yeah, it's more of a JRPG thing. I think Sid's supposed to be 31, which is he's
I love that-
55 coded.
Well, I love that in FF7, it's very much his attitude that causes that, because he is younger than Barrett, who is not the
Wait,
old
how
man
old was
of the
Barrett?
three. Barrett's like 35.
What the fuck? Barrett does not act 35. He acts like, I don't know. I always sort of like thought him as like later, as Cloud is on the early side of 20 and Barrett's on the late side of it, like the 28 or something.
Let me get his actual age to be sure, but he is, like,
I mean,
Barrett...
he's a father, but he's like not a great father. To be honest.
Yeah, someone
He
hasn't
doesn't
played the
necessarily
remake.
help with that.
Someone hasn't played the remake.
I have not. I promised myself I would only play the remake once I could play it all as a single game, and I don't think that will ever be the case.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's gonna be a while.
Yeah, I'm aware.
No, I mean, even when all of them are out, like, that's not going to turn it into a single game.
No, it won't.
But yeah, he is 35 in the original FF7. In general, like, the remake does a better job of characterizing him as, like, generally being a little more on top of his shit. Like, certainly a passionate man, but a better father and generally, like, more aware of things.
I was going to say, the original Final Fantasy VII, I feel like his characterization suffered because he kind of was a leader who also simultaneously had to defer to Cloud on many occasions. Just because
Yeah, he
Cloud
was-
Because Cloud was
the player.
He was
protagonist,
nominally
so-
the leader, but Cloud was the protagonist.
Yes. and-
Additionally, like I wouldn't say like the original Final Fantasy VII portrayed him as a bad father per se, but it was easy to forget that he did in fact have a daughter
I was going to
because
say, he
it just
definitely
came up
was an
so
absent
little.
Father.
Yeah,
One of the single best scenes in the remake is after the plate falls. When you're like going to Aerith's house to see if his daughter is okay, and he's like clearly just barely holding it together, but in like a
beside
very
himself.
Barrett. Yeah, like he's in a very Barrett way. Like he's channeling that as like anger. But one of the things he does is like he's like desperate and he just like yells at Cloud like, "Tell me she'll be okay. Like I don't even care. You can lie to me." And Cloud's and before Cloud can even answer, he's like, "No, that's a lie. I'd rip your head off."
Yeah, see, that's great. That's excellent characterization.
Yeah, no, he is a much better characterized character in the remake. It's fantastic.
And this is also, I will point
I've
out
heard
again
nothing. I've
that
heard nothing but good things about the remake.
this is after the entire, what I would say what was compilation of Final Fantasy VII with Dirge of Cerberus and all that period. They definitely forgot Barrett existed for much of that.
Oh yeah,
Because the compilation was always built on like give the fans what they want.
We wanted more
And-
Barrett. He had a gun for a hand. What more do you bloody need?
Did you
have to remember
see
a lot of the fans were racist.
Yes, big part of that. Also, just like, did you see what fandom for FF7 was at the time? FF7 fandom was like Cloud the sad boy and like Vincent.
Vincent the
And-
equally sad boy.
Yeah, and it was just like one of those things where it's like, okay, that's what you want. Like, there were fucking interviews when FF7 Advent Children came out where it's like, we contrived a story to make Cloud act like fans thought of him.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, he has geostigma, and that makes you sad.
he's got the sad disease. My hot take on the compilation of Final Fantasy VII in its entirety is that how to put this into language. Yes, that the entire reason Dirge of Cerberus exists is because somebody at Square saw Gungrave and said we could do that, and then they fucked it up.
It's a shame,
definitely
because
fucked
like
it
if Dirge
up.
of Cerberus just played like Gungrave, it would be like a huge cult classic.
Oh yeah, if Dirge of Cerberus
it would
was
not
just
be a
like,
full
you know,
class, it would be a
an
classic
hour and a
class.
half of like Vincent just like absolutely bulldozing everything, and then like having like a sad Final Fantasy style ending, it would be one of the best games ever.
There's a like Dirge of Cerberus. I will say the entire Enterprise to me is worth it for the complete insanity / inanity of this cutscene at the end of the first stage, where fucking the pilot of Ketchi is like he shows up, gets shot, and then it turns out that actually that was not his real body. That was a robot being piloted by the cat robot that Ketchi is normally piloting, in turn being piloted by the real guy who was not shot because he was not there in person. And that's insane. It's so stupid. I love
That
it.
is
That
incredibly
is stupid
dumb.
and insane, and I would say it's only in the top 5 of stupid, insane things that happen in that game.
Yeah, but it's easily the funniest.
It is very funny.
Legitimately, another significant thing that happens in that game is, like, the entire plot is held. I mean, I don't even know how to say it properly. The entire plot is held together by, like, Professor Stripper, who is, I understand it's like a thing that happens in the genre, but easily the least
Okay, like I
believable-
almost just Googled Professor Stripper. You got to give me something more to
fool.
work with than that.
On my website, I have a picture of her for the Dirge of Cerberus.
No, I mean a
article.
name, jackass.
I don't remember her name,
Yeah, I don't think he remembers the name.
but she is completely ridiculous, and they hang like this long emotional tale on her existence, and just there's never any reason to like take her seriously as a character, just on any level. Just characterization, visually, just anything about her is like, we are not serious today.
Is she like wearing a sexy lab coat? Is that like?
She's wearing a regular lab coat over what appears to be like kind of half of a dress type of thing. And
Where's the boob cup?
I mean, like, I'm putting myself in, like, that a PS2 headspace right now. And yeah, I'd be into it.
yeah, no, I'm not saying that it is.
Can't even, like, lie. Self-knowledge is the greatest kind of knowledge.
They just kind of they try to set her up as like the opposite of Hojo, and it never succeeds in any level.
I'm, like, just now thinking of, like, sexy Hojo, but, like it's not even like any change to his character design. He's still a weird, thin old man, but like he's like walking with that like struts where you can like where you definitely like can see like his hips sway, ass all jutting out infinitely.
I have seen enough internet people to know that there would be a actually fairly large audience for that.
Oh, nowadays he would be a Tumblr sexy man. He would be in like pictures drawn by like people with like clinical shipping disease, like with fucking Tifa, and it would just be me and the bad. They would all be captioned "Me and the bad bitch I pulled by being autistic." I have seen so many images captioned that, and I
have a lot.
I try not to be offended, but I kind of am a little bit.
A little bit.
Forgot what the canonical listed height of Barrett was.
I'm going to assume he's 7 feet tall, and like if you tell me,
197 centimeters.
what is that?
So
Feet?
6'6".
Okay, yeah. As long as he is extremely
Like he's an
large.
enormous dude.
Yeah, like he has to be just a massive individual. Like if you tell me, oh, he's actually 5'9", I'd be like, fuck you.
But yeah, it will always stick out to me that like Barrett is not the old man of the party, even though he is the oldest person in the party, because Sid radiates old man energy.
I mean, on like sit down and have your tea.
Can't wait to see Palmer get hit by a truck.
I that is obviously going to be the best part of the new remake. They can't not do that, right?
It'll be in fierce competition because, like, we know that they have the dolphin minigame in there. I appreciate.
Is the next game cover the part where like you could get like the optional Don Corneo bit, where like he's like just expanding his empire of sexual assault?
I mean, yeah,
I think you're thinking of Wu-Tai?
Wu-Tai,
No,
yeah.
Wu-Tai is explicitly something that is being saved for the third game.
Oh, okay.
Man.
Because I mean,
It's one of those things, it was optional in the original, and so there were a lot of times you could get to it, but they're covering basically the entire first disc, which means that there's not actually a lot of old iconic places that'll be open to show that weren't in the third game, that weren't in the second, so they kind of had to save something like Wu-Tai. Especially because Wu-Tai gets a lot more play in the remakes as like this thing that exists that Shinra basically is like any time that something inconvenient has happened to them, like they just sort of blame it on Wu-Tai.
blame it on Wu-Tai.
Like Wu-Tai did this. Wu-Tai is the reason that like whatever the fuck like terrible thing that we've done to you. That's the reason it happened, citizenry. You should be angry at Wu-Tai.
So it's literally just, you know, good old-fashioned modern-day racism.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's the proper way to take that idea. I'm into it.
Yeah. No.
I still maintain that like the game really should have just had like the option to play with FF7 Blazed as the actual game script.
One of my favorite like new scenes that they added for 7 Remake early on is that there's a bit where you see like this fucking Shinra middle manager on the train who's like, you know, a ridiculous caricature of a man who's basically just like talking about how like Avalanche is evil and they should work within the system to fix things. And it's like, oh, you know what? For a AAA game, that's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, like that's not bad.
Like, just putting in this absurd man that is like the milquetoast centrist. Oh, one thing that I always love, since I'm busting out Ace Attorney 4 again, one thing I always love about the game, one of the things I always loved about that game is that the way that they're characterized is that if Phoenix never spent another day in court, he would be perfectly fine with that. He would welcome that. Phoenix is a defense attorney because that's the only way to help people that he knows how to do. Apollo is a defense attorney because it's like, yeah, that's my passion. I want to be an attorney. I want to defend people in court. And so, like, as a recurrent bit of imagery throughout the game, and in general, it's just like everything that happens to Phoenix, everything that Phoenix does by accident are things that Apollo has like modeled his life as like, this is what I want to do, and has like it is just an eternal struggle for him to be able to do any of them. So like Phoenix's hair, the weird spikes in his hair are natural. That is just how his hair works. You can tell just by looking at the way that they continue to be there even when he is wearing a beanie over them. Whereas there are many comments within the game that make it clear that literally, like, Apollo's hair would not do that if he did not have an extremely consistent gelling routine to make it do the horn shit. In general, like, Apollo gets clients who do not want him as their attorney, and who, like, he is the attorney of last resort. No one sought him out. No one wants to deal with him. It is months between clients, not because he doesn't want to take them. Like, in the first 3 games, it's made clear a number of times, Phoenix gets offers for clients that he does not take, because he's not that interested in whatever's going on.
How much Judge Dredd did I miss?
None. We have not talked about any Judge Dredd this week.
What are you talking about? I'm about playing Judge Dredd right now.
Judge Dredd versus Death for the PS2.
He just got a one shot by who's Judge Dredd's biggest villain?
Judge Death.
He just got one shot by Judge Death. And we were all talking about how much we hate that fucker, Judge Death.
If you've ever seen that, like, gaze into the Fist of Dread image, I believe Judge Death is who he's punching through the face.
Wait, is there actually... I've never watched the movie, either of the movies, or read the comic.
Neither have I.
Is it actually... Is his rival actually Judge Death?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. He is like a weird ghost man who comes from a universe where it is illegal to be alive.
Everything he just said is accurate, I can confirm.
So is this the dead thing alive now? Or was that a different screen?
I died, so I have to do things.
No. But is this the thing?
This is a different dead. This is a different thing that has never been dead.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I am now facing the extremely gnarly gaze into the Fist of Dread imagery. I don't know. It's a little violent. It is a man punching another man through the face. So I guess I'll spoiler it.
I mean, that's a move.
That's
pretty Godhead cover.
All seen the what cover?
We've all seen the Godhead cover.
Wait, in Godhead, is he actually punching him through the face?
He's punching him. His hand is going through his mouth and coming out the back of his head.
But yeah.
I mean, not gonna lie. Sometimes you really wish you could.
It's an extremely meaningful cover. All right, let's go to General. Take a look at this. Spoiler. Gaze into the Fist of Dread.
Punching a man through the face.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite panels I've ever seen.
Comic book, that makes sense.
It's a really good panel.
But
All right, so Goggle Bob, how goes killing?
big
I'm gonna
plant
call
thing.
this. I'm just gonna claim this is Tentacruel from Pokemon. Why
I mean,
not?
you're not wrong entirely. But yeah, no, I'm doing better this time. I mean, it's any given Dread boss is just a matter of, figuring out what you're doing and then doing it.
Any given video game boss.
Well, no, Dread bosses are very much. I mean, and this is also something that started.
They're very
with,
patterny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's.
I mean,
Except for
Metroid bosses
Dreamy
in general
Aquarium.
tend to be extremely pattern dependent.
And I would disagree that it's meant, because this is definitely something that I feel started with Samus Returns. Like, it is 100% like there's a pattern, and there's an opening gamut area that is just pointless once you figured it out, but you have to do it over and over again if you fail. Like, it is something that's a little bit more.
I noticed you're not even trying to like survive the triple tentacle attack. Like the others, you can jump. Can you just not jump that one? Or
No,
is
you can jump. You just have to jump better.
Yeah, he's just bad at jump.
It's a very
Oh, no.
simple
Like
one,
being
though.
bad at beach.
Hey,
Oh no, the glowing weak spot.
he's wiggling.
Yeah, I mean, the boss is actually over pretty quick once you know exactly what you're doing. It's just a matter of pulling off exactly what you're doing.
Get good scrub.
Exactly.
But yeah, to finish my spiel, I just always found it very amusing that Apollo is always just desperate for clients, desperate to be in court as a defense attorney because that's what he went to school for and it's what he wants to do, and because of the circumstance of he is associated with Phoenix, who is disgraced. And just generally seen as like a guy who potentially may be both crooked and incompetent. He has like an immense amount of difficulty getting clients, and just like everything that happened to Phoenix as just a result of being Phoenix is something that is just something that he spends his life working for and unable to get without immense difficulty. But that's so much of Ace Attorney 4. One of my favorite things that they did was taking the new girl that they had introduced for the new case that they had added to the DS version of 1, Emma, and
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, they take her characterization from 1 where she's extremely excited because she's gonna be the best forensic investigator there is. And nothing could stop her now. And then you see her, and it's yeah, she didn't pass the test that she needed to. So now she's been busted down to just investigator, and she's very bitter about this thing.
Yeah, no, she was of all the characters in that game, she absolutely had the most tired and angry woman in her 30s energy.
It's so good. She's so much fun.
She was not happy about anything.
But isn't she also 16?
She is, I believe, in her mid to late 20s by the time that 4
I
takes
thought
place.
she was yet another Prodigy character.
No, she's a prodigy in the final mission of Ace Attorney, which is added from DS
in Rise from the Ashes, Case 1-5, she's 16, and she's portrayed as precociously intelligent, but not even really at prodigy level. Just oh, she's really enthusiastic about this subject and knows a lot about it, but definitely oh yeah, I got chemicals that react with blood residue through mail order.
As you do.
Because she's a ridiculously intense teenager.
Yeah, no, very intense teenager. Those are the most fucked up deer I have ever seen.
They're real weird.
I do like that this game does kind of feel like it's literally the first 2D Metroid game to really get a planet going, as far as this is an area where things conceivably live, as opposed to this is a place where Metroids eat people.
Whatever is here is prey for the Metroids.
Yes, well, I mean,
like,
inevitably, but also.
I think the Prime series did a little bit of that.
That's why you said 2D.
Yeah, no, that's good qualifier.
Yeah, Prime did well with that, I would say. Much like they also.
But like Prime had like a lot of things you scanned. It was like, yeah, no, this is not like an evil enemy. This is just the wildlife, and you're in its territory, so it's not happy with you.
Well, and also,
but there were also like benign bits of wildlife. There were some that was just like this kind of like grass that would slow you down because it wasn't trying to hurt you. It was just being like, hey, what's this? We eat by like grabbing things. You're a big metal thing, so we're gonna grab you, but we can't eat you because you're wearing metal armor. We can't eat metal.
And Prime also, literally everywhere you go in Prime, in any of the Prime games, there is Phazon, which has they distinctly point out over and over again that it makes things more angry and big.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
like you'd have an easier time if this thing wasn't poisoned by magic.
Yeah. Everything in Prime is those Chernobyl super wolves.
Yeah, pretty much.
Also, I'm just gonna unrelated thought, but to finish out what I was thinking about in Ace Attorney, I will say, weirdly, one of the only good live-action video game movies.
I have not seen that.
They made it.
I think it was on Outer Heaven, but I think I was drunk and not paying attention.
Yeah, it's an adaptation of the first game minus the additional case, like just cases 1 through 4, and it kind of it has a lot of interesting choices about how to put them together. It was done by noted insane director Takashi Miike.
Miike is the best because he just makes so many movies.
He makes so many. That's not even his only video game movie.
He did the JoJo Part 4 movie, right?
Yeah, and that's a great movie.
Yeah, that movie rules.
It sucks that they weren't able to go through with doing more of those, but because it's obvious that was the intention at one point, but it didn't do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like they set up Kira at the end and everything.
Yeah, it's a real shame we didn't get that because like I have confidence that would have been great, but yeah, like his Ace Attorney movie is genuinely a good adaptation of the first game.
One of my favorite silly gags in No More Heroes 3 is how in between every level it's just Travis
going on about Miike movies.
Yeah, just Travis and one of his buddies just talking about Miike. Also, I think Miike cameoed in both 2 and 3.
Would not surprise me in the slightest.
He does cameo in 3 because Travis gets murdered by Mr. Sir Henry motherfucker. Literally chopped to pieces, extremely dead, put in a coffin and buried. And then Miike comes to visit his grave, and the knowledge that Miike is there summons Travis back to life, punches himself out of his coffin, and just asks if Miike could direct the No More Heroes movie. It rules. It absolutely rules.
No More Heroes is the sort of thing that Miike, honestly, it feels like one day we should have gotten a Miike adaptation of No More Heroes.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like that'd be a case where Suda and Miike would have extremely different opinions on how to do stuff, but they would meet in the middle somewhere just because they have to. Or maybe I'm wrong, because Suda obviously thinks the world of Miike. So, if Miike was I feel like Travis should be an Uber driver, Suda would be yeah, no, it makes sense.
We can give this a shot. Let's do it.
I want to see where you're going with this.
Completely unrelated. Have y'all seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
No.
Yes.
I've heard of it, but I have not seen it.
Never even heard of it.
I mean,
Okay.
that is the one with Jay in it, correct?
Jay? No.
Then what am I thinking of?
All right, I'm looking at this poster, and this is a beautiful poster.
Oh, this is a movie, correct?
This is the movie,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, I was thinking of a TV show that had a similar title. My bad.
Are you thinking of like Stand Against Evil?
It will come to me eventually.
No, it's Alan Tudyk. And it is fantastic. That is.
I'm now thinking about Ash versus Evil Dead. I apologize.
This is very much
Not yet either.
in the mold of Ash versus Evil Dead. Here we go. I'm
That's a good thing
dumping
to
the I'm dumping the
Yeah.
poster into general.
I don't like horror movies, and this is just hilarious. It's not a horror movie at all.
I like
Comedy horror
movies,
is an
but I also
underrated,
like comedy horror. So
Yeah, comedy horror is
It's
an
more
underrated
comedy
concept.
than it is horror.
I mean, so is Army of Darkness, but that doesn't
Oh,
stop
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Army of Darkness is really more like just an action movie with a lot of great
It's-
comedy beats
With
that
zombies
happens
in
to
it?
be the
It's Looney
sequel
Tunes.
of a horror movie to a horror movie.
Yeah, Looney Tunes is the best description.
Well, Looney Tunes is the best way to describe it. Granted, Evil Dead 2 kind of is itself a Looney Tunes movie.
Like, Evil Dead 2 is the point where it, like, turns from a straight, like, splatter horror into a comedy horror.
Yeah. Like the laughing scene alone. That's an all-timer.
And I need to rewatch Evil Dead 2. That movie's
Great.
good.
It's fucking amazing.
I love, like, the Evil Dead games that come after that suck ass, but nothing can stop the fact that, like, Bruce Campbell just puts his whole heart into them.
Bruce Campbell is the sort of actor who has never phoned it in.
He's
Like,
never put in anything less than his best.
Yeah, like he's a B movie actor through and through, but he believes in everything he does.
That B is for Bruce.
Yeah. He's been in tons of like A movies too, but like he has the soul of a B movie actor, and he's gonna act the fuck out of whatever he gets in.
I should just make a Bruce Campbell cast on that.
There's this
Evil Dead 2.
I'm thinking about this fucking line. It's like, well, which actor is better? And it's Clint Eastwood. Jason Statham could do Unforgiven, but Clint Eastwood could not do Crank 2 High Voltage.
I agree.
So,
Yeah, I need to. I'm just
by
gonna
definition, then Jason Statham has better range.
I'm just looking at what could I do to fill out a Bruce Campbell cast? Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. feels right.
Obviously, you need that.
We haven't had Briscoe County yet. Since
Yeah,
I
it's a
started
little
watching.
weird.
That is impressive. Also, high cadeness.
Hi.
Yeah, so is that an hour or half hour? I can't remember. That's an
I can't
hour long
remember either.
slot. Yeah, it's a 45-minute slot, so that's an hour slot.
Okay.
Briscoe County Jr. Let's see.
He's guest starred in a ton of shit. So I would just.
Oh god,
throw
he's in an episode of Weird Science. It's time to hurt.
Oh, wow,
he's
I
also
don't remember
in-
that.
He's also has a very Bruce Campbell-esque cameo, or basically an entire episode to himself in a fucking Megas XLR. I feel like that would be good out of having fun.
Yeah, like if I just did Briscoe County Jr., the episode of Weird Science he's in called I Dream of Gene, where he is Gene the Genie. And wait, there's a Time Cop TV series? What the fuck?
Oh yeah, you
Awesome.
don't remember that existed?
I did not remember that existed. There were 9 episodes, and he's in one of them.
Is Evil Dead 2 a very long movie? I don't think it is.
I want to say it's probably like 90 minutes tops.
Yeah, so like you could probably get away with 84
minutes. Like that is a tight run.
Yeah, that's a movie that like makes use of every second it has. So I would say you could probably get away with shoving in both the Time Cop episode and the Megas episode. I think you can pull it off.
Problem with the Time Cop episode is 60 minutes.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know that I have enough. I don't think I have that in me. I would put that
Wasn't
on
he like in
another
the pilot to CSI where he dies at the end?
Don't know.
I know that he was like the big like focus. He was like part of what got that whole trend rolling because it was like one of his rare serious roles, and it had the twist ending of
He did
him
Homicide Life on the Street.
I swear it was CSI. I'm not sure.
I'm not seeing it on his list of credits.
Okay, then I'm wrong.
But yeah, he's in an episode of Homicide Life on the Street, or a two-part episode.
Librarians. No, nothing. Okay, never mind.
Don't know what else.
The Librarian series of movies.
Well, so there was the set of movies, and then there was also a TV series.
Yeah,
There's
I'm
a
seeing him
TV
listed as
series?
Santa Claus.
Yes. And
Also,
yeah.
Also, as far
Wait,
as
Bruce
insane
Campbell was in the
things-
Santa Claus, the fucking Tim Allen movie?
No,
No,
he was
no.
Santa Claus in something called The
Santa Claus in
Librarian.
an episode of The Librarian.
Oh, The Librarian. Those like fucking TV movies that were like sort of
No, no.
TV show.
There were a bunch of TV movies, and then there was also a series.
That's weird.
So
obviously, fuck, of course.
no,
Burn
Wiley
Notice. You gotta have Burn Notice if you're doing Bruce Campbell night.
There's also, like, this is something that's just, like, fucking my brain up. So he was in the TV series version of Fargo. Do you want to guess what he played?
I
I know the answer, so I'm not going to say it.
I have not seen the TV show Fargo. I understand it's quite good. So I'm going to assume he played like a random store clerk who barely had any lines and yet somehow still stole the entire episode.
He played Ronald Reagan.
Yep. And it was
Fuck,
great.
that's good.
He
I
played
bet
Ronald
he
Reagan
fucking
going
murdered.
to the
I bet he fucking
go.
just ate the entire set.
The scene is basically Ronald Reagan encountering somebody else from the series literally while in like a public restroom. So yes, Bruce Campbell is like beating the shit out of that as a concept.
Oh my god, I didn't realize that he was he was the presenter on a revival of Ripley's Believe It or Not
Well, that I've never seen.
Wow.
from 2019. There were 10 episodes. It's just there and gone. But it was presented by Bruce Campbell. There's like enough
Really?
material here for like 5 Bruce Campbell casts, which is the problem.
Yeah,
And
like
also
you gotta
the bit of
you
trivia
gotta
we're talking about,
like pick and choose so much here.
since
He was
we're talking
in one
about
episode.
horror comedy anyway,
He was in one episode of Archer.
What were you
And there's
saying?
always Hercules. You can't like not have Hercules and Xena, can you?
Wasn't that Kevin
True.
Sorbo? Fuck Kevin Sorbo.
Well, then
He
there
was not
that.
Hercules. He was in 8
He was
episodes of Xena.
in apparently 12 episodes of Hercules and 8 episodes of Xena.
All right.
Yeah, I would sooner watch the Xena episodes to avoid the Sorbo.
I don't blame you. He plays the same character in both.
Yeah, so it's just like, hey, I can get my Bruce Campbell fix and not have to see Kevin Sorbo. So
I'm just scrolling down this guy's IMDb, and damn, he is fucking prolific.
he is never not working.
Yeah, I know, dude's a born grind. Dude is a born grind. Dude is a born grind.
True epsilon grind set.
Yeah. Like fucking Sigma grind set out here.
He has
in-
moved beyond Sigma. I've decided that we have moved
Yeah,
beyond
he's
Sigma.
on
We're at
Epsilon. Yeah. And like some of these things, you'd be like, wait, what would he even be in this? He was in fucking Rapunzel's Tangled Adventures as King Edmund.
My life is a teenage robot.
That's some Gendy Tartakovsky there.
And I will say what I was trying to say earlier. I found out recently, and I don't know if like everybody knew this trivia but me, but apparently the finale of Cabin in the Woods, which if you haven't seen it, who cares? But if you have seen it, the big guest star at the end of that was originally written for Bruce Campbell.
What was the big guest star? The finale. Wait, Kevin was. That's a movie.
That's a movie,
It-
yes.
So it had a show as well?
No. I would still describe the finale of, even though it was a TV show, I would describe the finale character as something of a guest star. It was definitely stunt casting one way or the other.
You mean
I've seen most of that movie, and I thought it was fine. But like, wasn't it was the guy from The West Wing who was like all over in it. I don't remember who the guy at the end was.
It was actually a woman in this case.
Oh well, who was she? What was the actress?
Here's a hint: Alien.
Oh, Sigourney. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
well,
originally that role was going to be Bruce Campbell.
That's some high level stunt casting, but like, and I'll be honest, I think Sigourney Weaver could absolutely play Ash.
Well, I mean, it makes sense in Cabin in the Woods because in the case of it being Sigourney Weaver, it is the final girl talking to the final girl. Like,
Gotcha. All right.
That works.
God, I forgot there was an Evil Dead movie last year. I need to watch that at some point.
Yeah, like there's the remake series that has like 3 movies.
This isn't in continuity with that first remake, which is called Evil Dead Rise, and it's a little different.
Huh. Interesting.
There's very little Bruce Campbell in that. It's just a cameo, but at the same time, like it's one of those things. Like, oh yeah, I should watch that at some point.
For completion's sake.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like.
Evil
Dead.
like Evil Dead's great.
Nothing can damage me as much as the first film, anyway. So.
I'm trying to remember where you go at this point in this game.
Isn't that the game?
Oh, you go home? No.
I have the Evil Dead the musical album. That shit is fucking hilarious.
Oh, I believe it.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it live, but like whoever was playing Ash, I guess he was the original cast member in like the off-Broadway production. He doesn't look anything like Campbell. His voice, though, is a dead ringer. He got an incredible impersonation.
Well, now I have to go find that.
God, now I'm remembering Bubba Hotep.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen that one. Always sort
Highly
of beat on the
recommended.
list. It's
It's a surreal one.
yeah. It's a sort of like I've heard it described as like a mashup movie where it's almost impossible to like define its to like state its genre plainly because it's being like 15 different things at once. That is the description
Has
I've
many
heard.
ambitions.
Yeah, it is. It is a movie. It is a movie with lofty goals, and like if your goals are lofty enough, you don't have to accomplish all of them to be incredible. Sometimes.
Originally, the film was roadshowed by the director across the country. Only 32 prints were made and circulated around various film festivals.
That's fucking awesome. Sometimes it sucks when you can't like find. I get this with short films all the time because I love putting short films on Outer Heaven because all like the questions of, well, why are you picking this random episode of this show if it has 300 episodes? You don't have to care about that shit with a short film. It's just here's all your guys. Everything you need to know happens right in front of you.
It
But I
says
have
in
not
the
been able
rules
to
on
find.
the upload page that you're not supposed to upload the first episode. That you're supposed to do a random
I
one.
don't upload the first episode. I upload the
No,
weird
no,
ones.
that's yeah. Beta, like Keith is just saying, like people should know this.
Yeah, I know.
People don't read
But,
the
like,
rules.
Yeah, nobody reads the fucking rules. But like,
There needs to be a tutorial stage.
seriously. But like, I've been trying to find this Korean short film called Koom, which is stop motion animated with styrofoam peanuts. It's fucking awesome. I saw the last 5 minutes of it at a film festival thing at like the local artsy fartsy super theater that like only plays old movies on actual film stock. And it ruled. And I can't fucking find it anywhere. And I hate that. So I want everyone to see it. Because it's amazing.
Apparently, there was plans at one point for a Bubba Hotep sequel. It would have been a weird choice to make just by virtue of virtue of how the first one ends. But allegedly, the director had no plans at the end, like the joke at the end of the second movie called Bubba Nosferatu, Curse of the She-Vampires, was just something to be like, haha. And then when people liked it, there was like a proposal for a movie that would center around a lost Elvis movie from the 50s and 60s with Paul Giamatti as Colonel Tom Parker.
Fuck, that sounds brilliant.
And
I mean, shit, I'm here for it.
yeah, sadly, this idea sort of fell apart.
That's a shame.
As according to Campbell, like he left the project at one point as he and the director, quote, had a few points developing the screenplay that we couldn't reconcile, and that he parted ways with the project as a way of keeping his friendship with the director.
That's probably the noblest thing you can do sometimes. Some fights are just not worth dragging out.
But yeah, apparently Giamatti really wanted to do this. Anytime anyone would ask about this, he's like, "No, I'm still on board. I'm still here for this."
Fucking go. Super missile. I'm super,
Finally.
super.
Now, I think this game, if memory serves, just outright replaces the missile with the super missile. Like it's just an upgrade.
That's Prime, isn't it?
No, I think we got it. Yeah, because I'm not seeing like a different count or anything here.
Yeah.
Oh.
In Zero
Missiles were
Mission,
better.
the super missile was like the thing you got after the normal missile.
They're almost always like super missiles and missiles are treated as separate things. And I kind of appreciate just like doing away with that notion, just because like once you get super missiles, by the time you get super missiles, missiles are basically something you don't use unless like a block only opens to missiles.
Yeah.
Or when you run out of super missiles.
Yeah, like
even when you run out of super missiles, they mathematically don't make sense. Because usually by that point you have the
charge
plasma beam
instead.
Yeah, you got charge beam, you got plasma beam, you got all kinds
like a
of
charged
beams.
plasma beam in basically any of the games will the time spent charging will be outdone by the amount of damage you're doing when you let go.
Oh, really? Even more than just rapid firing missiles?
I was about to say the benefit of missiles is theoretically that I can shoot them off, like quickly.
Mm-hmm. But also by that point you'll also have the spacer in all of these games, which means that you don't even have to care about where you're shooting that much. So yeah, just cut out the middleman. Just make just upgrade missiles into super missiles.
Yeah.
Is the laser just spread laser? Is that what it stands for?
Yeah.
I thought it stood for space laser.
I thought it was. Stood for spastic.
Oh, well then it wouldn't be allowed to be released in Britain.
Yeah.
I'm now remembering the fucking worst song in human history. I hate this.
I don't want to know the song.
How dare you remember the worst?
I'm just
song
replacing it in my mind with 64 Bars by Rappy McRapperson.
That has joy in its soul, and Mr. Smurftastic does not.
It literally has, "You suck at rap even worse than me. You have disgraced your family. So kill yourself. Jump off a bridge."
Well, that's something.
I'm gonna find it. I hope it's still on YouTube. Difficult to tell. A lot of these are just gone now.
I'm sending you an important message, B.
Oh, it still exists! The original upload is still up! Uploaded 11 years ago. Holy shit.
Yeah, I checked that like a month ago. It's still there.
Well, I'm responding to the Smurfs with 64 bars.
Here we go. The most important part of the game.
This genuinely has a pretty awesome beat.
This is when everything in the game gets fucked up but good.
I'm just in hell about how fucking bad this song is.
You should listen to songs that you like.
I do often, but this time I have to exercise this for my soul.
This time.
God, this is always longer than I ever imagined. How has this only been going for 90 seconds?
You're forcing yourself to listen to the whole thing.
I've got to exercise it from my soul.
Okay, I've gone to I unsubscribed from Raffy ages ago because he had reached levels of irony that I could not legitimately follow him to. It was the Trump era. It was a difficult time.
Yeah.
He has an upload from 4 days ago.
Yeah, I saw that he had like an album like last year.
And it looks like a lot of his stuff from that like difficult period has been deleted.
That's probably healthy.
He probably thought better of it. But like I said, he's an irony elemental, so like you can't really take anything.
You cannot tell what his actual opinion was at that stage.
For the most part, he seemed to be basically a reasonably decent human being. I mean, he struck me as one every time I met him, and I met him like 4 times. But that seemed like if he was mocking Trump, it was difficult to tell because every Trump genuine fan is the stupidest motherfucker of all time and will say that shit legitimately. It is a difficult balance to strike, and nobody can strike it 100% of the time.
How is this song still have like a minute?
Which one are you listening to?
I'm still trying to like successfully survive Mr. Smurftastic.
Oh. I'm listening to 64 bars. And that's easy.
You're having a good time.
I'm having a wonderful time.
Like I listened to 64 bars like a week ago. Like it is still in my head. But I am defeating Mr. Smurftastic by finishing listening to it.
I am defeated.
I will defeat this fucking song.
It's garbage. I won't quit my day job hoeing at the harbor. You suck at rap even worse than me. You have disgraced your family. So kill yourself. Jump off a bridge. Go to the groceries and choke on the figs.
The phrasing defeating it reminds me of something my brother said about Norbit.
Oh God!
I don't believe that he had defeated anything about Norbit at any time.
The movie?
Yes,
the film.
He thought that he had defeated Norbit by watching it and deciding, oh, that wasn't that bad. But it turns out what he had actually seen was Pluto Nash.
Oh no, he was tricked by Norbit.
It's just Eddie Murphy.
I mean, Pluto Nash is bad. Don't get me wrong, but like, but
it's not the worst thing ever.
I'm sure.
Yeah, like it is merely a bad film.
Yeah, Norbit though is like bold new levels of terrible from what I've heard.
Sure, I've said this on the stream before, but Norbit will always hold a special place in my heart because I was dating a girl back in my 20s, and it was kind of like, I don't know, do I want to be with, like, it's like they're debating on whether or not to go forward with this relationship. And she literally said, well, we're not doing anything on Friday. Do you want to go see Norbit? And my response was, I don't think this is working out. my brain just immediately reflexively, escape hatched
right out.
It's just nope right out of the
movie that sunk a relationship. Holy shit!
I mean, it was something that was on my mind, and then she just suggested going to see it, and I was like, nope. Okay, we're done. That was the immediate, she just genuinely asked, oh, do you want to go see this movie? And I'm just like, nope, we're done. Goodbye.
Yeah, so now my brother has the knowledge that Norbit is still out there, potentially threatening him.
I don't think Smiler would ever be willing to show it on Outer Heaven, so it won't come from that vector if they watch Outer Heaven.
Well, he's stopped watching Outer Heaven.
That's healthy.
That's healthy.
What was I gonna say? Whenever I think of Norbit, I end up thinking of legendary songwriter / mentally ill person Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, who spent years in an abusive conservatorship from his truly deranged psychologist Eugene Landy, and then years and years later, upon when someone got into an interview with him in 2012 or something, they asked him if he had seen any good movies lately, and he's like, yeah, I haven't seen I've only seen one movie in a number of years, but it was Norbit. It's like, well, how did you like that? I loved it. Very funny. Fantastic movie. Like, he just, like, it was the only circumstance you could think of where it was, like, literally the only movie a person has seen in, like, years.
Getting a lot of Boss Baby vibes from this.
But yeah, like, that's just one of the single saddest things I'd ever heard. Brian Wilson, musical genius, but
He deserved better
has had a rough life.
So I'm noticing that like you're actually absorbing X parasites. I wasn't aware that was a thing in this game.
Well, that was the thing. We have now entered this sealed area where there are X parasites.
I thought you killed all those things.
Like, well, that's the
You killed
thing.
most of them.
It is meant to be like, oh shit, X parasites.
These aren't supposed to
Kind
exist.
of the reaction.
It's kind of cool that like Samus can
That's
still
like the
absorb
same
them.
part in Fusion where you're like, oh shit,
see-
Metroids, those aren't supposed to exist.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's cool, but like it still recognizes that Samus is like one of like just the only person in the universe who has X parasite immunity.
Yeah,
The
literally
defeats
the
of
only
things.
person.
Yeah, like
Can't
they
believe you
made
don't
exactly
measure people.
one vial of that stuff and they gave it to her.
Well, they only had so much Metroid DNA left at that point.
Yeah.
Well, they put
I
it
remember finding
in her, like, because they do make a point that the only reason that it worked is because of her weird ass DNA. Like, that is actually part of the plot of this game. Like,
Yeah,
they
this
probably
game
did try it on
clarifies
other
some
people and
aspects
it
of
ended
that.
poorly.
Yeah, this game clarifies some aspects of that. Look at how fucked up that thing looks. That's so good.
Yeah, I like that. I like
that,
it like
that is
when
my
I'm
number one favorite thing about the X parasites is it makes a bunch of weird motherfuckers.
yeah, like I think when like Tears of the
Finding
Kingdom came
all
up,
the-
I said
almost-
that what if an arm but it was kind of fucked up is peak design. This is the same like basic principle. It's it's a Chozo, but he's kind of fucked up, and that's great.
Like, he's
almost
already a
every boss
little
in this
fucked up.
game was extremely frustrating to me.
Oh, it's super hard. Like, there's no shame in that, but God, it's so cool.
He's a very cool boss. Do you have exactly one energy left, Gogglebob?
And I make it work.
Gogathan Bobathan.
Yeah, no, that was
Brutal.
clutch as hell.
Also, what a brutal way to die.
Yep.
I
That's
mean,
what you get
the
for
fun-
having like a mouth that's that big. You're not
Here's
supposed to
the
have a
fun
mouth that's
fact:
that
it was
big.
already dead.
Yeah. What a brutal way to
Okay.
die again.
Another E-Tank.
But yeah, there's absolutely gonna be there's gonna have to be like a stream of this that's just half shopping trip to get stuff that you missed because that final boss is brutal if you don't.
I was about to say I'm probably gonna do like at a certain point. Yeah, see, so here's what happened: is we entered the area where the X's were sealed, and now guess what? They're out.
X gonna give it to you.
So have fun the
X
rest
gonna
of
give
the
it to you.
planet.
He
You're
gonna
going
give
to
it to
die.
you. X gonna
Well,
give
also, there is no the tournament organizers just came back from Frosty Fausting, so they're taking a break today. So no counter programming.
Where was Frosty Faustings or whatever it's called?
It's Chicago. I
Chicago.
think.
Okay. Yeah, because I knew somebody who went, and I was just kind of curious how local it was.
Not local to you.
Pretty much.
Can't believe I'm not there to play Tekken 8 with Callie.
Oh, did you guys get to play it before you left?
Yeah.
Yes, the first
I was very
time.
bad at it.
The first time with 3DS graphics.
Oh god, yeah. So Callie's computer is not what that game is built for, and so he was like, "Oh, it's like I'm playing like a 3DS port," and I had to point out that Tekken 3D Prime Edition existed.
That is true. I've got it.
The second
That's a
time
very
we
good
played,
port.
I had like tried to see like where the limits of the graphics could go while still maintaining 60 FPS, and we got it to PS3 era graphics.
This is Tekken Revolution. But yeah, Tekken. There's like this weird early in the 3DS lifespan. There's like this weird set of circumstances where like 3 different developers were like, we could just put a fighting game on this and it wouldn't look complete dog shit. And so you get Tekken 3D Prime Edition, Dead or Alive Dimensions, and Super Street Fighter 4 3D Edition, all within like 6 months of each other.
Noting that Dead or Alive Dimensions includes Ridley.
Wait, what?
Too big.
Seriously?
Like Metroid Ridley?
Like Metroid Ridley. No, Dead or Alive Dimensions had a background based on freaking Metroid, the bad one.
Other M.
Zero
Other
Mission?
M, thank
No.
you.
Fucking Other M. That's the one.
No,
Zero Mission's
it had
great.
a
I love
background
Zero
based
Mission.
on Other M, and in the background, Ridley would occasionally show up and could interact with your fighters, I think.
Yeah, and Samus could appear in
What's
the stage
the
as well.
what's it? I know one of you guys has the answer. What's the Tekken game where Snoop Dogg's in the background?
Tekken Tag Tournament 2. I had to
Awesome.
remind Callie of that for some reason.
I always say it. There is no artist alive that has sold out more than Snoop, but nobody cares because it's just you're just like, oh hell yeah, Snoop Dogg's in this.
Get money, get paid.
And also, the Tekken series, if anything's going to have, if anything's going to have Snoop Dogg in it, Tekken probably qualifies the best.
I mean, like better that than like fucking NFTs.
I mean, I didn't post it, and I really wanted to, but when I was when I was playing Tekken 8 story mode for the first time, I can tell you I was like the freaking sicko's gif when at one point in story mode Tekken 8 decides it's going to turn into a shitty beat 'em up. And I
Yeah, it
assure
does do
you,
that.
it is a shitty
Yeah.
beat 'em up.
That's awesome.
It's done that many times.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
So,
it's
I'm
just
gonna-
like, I'm going to be a shitty beat 'em up now, and it's like, alright, you do you, Tekken.
So I'm bringing up 2 things. One, Snoop Dogg actually recorded a track for Tag Tournament 2 called Knock 'em Down. Knock is spelled with 2 C's.
That's beautiful.
It doesn't have anything to do with anything.
It's very important. It's mandatory that Snoop Dogg get to spell words however the fuck he wants.
There is, of course, also a Snoop Dogg themed stage where he sits in like the background wearing like a fucking king outfit.
Of course he does.
And God, what was I gonna say? I saw like this interaction on Twitter where it was like where 2 people were like who clearly at least to some degree knew each other. We're talking, and one of them's just talking about Tekken, and he's just. And the other response like, what is it with like why do so many black people love Tekken? And he says, I don't know, man. It's like Mexican people in King of Fighters. And it was just like, huh? Is it? I don't know.
Is it?
Like it does seem to have more of a following, but I don't know if that's like confirmation bias. It makes me think of Dragon Ball in that sense. But I don't know.
I mean, Dragon Ball is like one of those things that like is just dearly beloved by such a wide swath of the population.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? I saw it posted again recently that like every time something new Dragon Ball comes out, cartel activity goes down for 2 days or something.
My
I got
boss, who is
lost.
black, says that Dragon Ball is the only anime he watches.
Does
Dragon Ball got
Does
a
Naruto have
special
the same-
shout out in the Wu-Tang book as a I think RZA thought that Saiyans were awesome black dudes and Frieza was white supremacy.
There's an argument to be made for that. It's a
There really
real-
is.
You're not
No, there
wrong.
absolutely fucking is. I mean,
Does,
Frieza's literally a slaver.
for the younger generations, does Naruto have the same like cross?
I don't think it has the same
I don't
cross.
think it did, no.
I don't think it has the same full appeal. It definitely has like the issue you run into is just that like Naruto was popular, but it was never popular the same way that Dragon Ball was.
Yeah.
It definitely like it definitely has fans in the same way that like Shonen manages to get fans in that sense, but I don't think it ever had the same degree that something like Dragon Ball did, where you would get something like I don't think you'll see anything like that Wu-Tang statement about Dragon Ball that you would for Naruto. Like that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, that's just not going to happen.
Then we'll find out in a few years that Kendrick Lamar is a big Bleach head or something.
I
Only.
would hope Kendrick Lamar has higher standards.
I was going to say, I was thinking just today about the alternate universe where Bleach decided to just keep its central conceit going longer than 13 episodes, and there's just 300 episodes about Ichigo, the substitute Soul Reaper, going to high school and like fighting a new monster every week and not entering any like gigantic fighting tournament nonsense.
Don't go to tournament
Well, it's
with
not
Bleach.
a tournament.
I remember the
it's effectively a
fucking
tournament as far as I'm concerned.
Efford post, years in this ancient history now, about dirty
At least 10 years
boots,
ago.
and I was like,
Oh, God.
that actually sounds hilarious. Like, yeah, I could absolutely like see a hilarious gag like episode about a woman who, when every time she steps in a mud puddle, can suddenly tear a car in half with her bare hands. That would be fucking funny. But no, it just wasn't. And like that's almost tragic. How do you fuck up that badly?
It sounds like a law of Ueki power.
It's one of those things that, to my understanding, like a lot of the like, as with any manga, like some of it has to be cast on the unreasonable way in which they are produced.
Oh yeah, like you have to the schedules for manga artists is just insane.
Well, and also
Doing 20 pages of comics in a week is insane.
Yeah, like that's an unreasonable ask.
And the artist for Bleach, what is it, Tito Kubo or something?
Tight Kubo.
Like Kubo, yeah.
Has just straight up stated, like, they just like making new guys.
Yeah, like it was like initially he would just draw new characters as like a way of like de-stressing, like, oh, I'll draw a new character, and like, well, eventually the editor sees them and it's like, how are you going to use this? And it's like, oh shit.
I think my favorite like dumb manga trivia is that the entire Android saga is because Toriyama kept getting notes from like a guy who wasn't even his boss
His
anymore.
ex-editor,
It was his former editor. But like every time
he wanted to get that guy's approval.
Yeah, every time like for some reason he was still like, oh, I don't want
Just
like
slide under the legs, God damn it, Bob.
But every time he was like, "Oh, I don't want to upset my old boss." So, I guess I better like
what
take
got,
all of
like
his
an
notes.
old man and a clown. That's what you got, like just these two brats.
Yeah, like he's
Why
like,
does he look so ugly?
And my understanding was it wasn't even like a statement of like, no, this sucks. It was sort of like, oh, that's cool. What's going to be the real one? And it was like,
yeah,
Like every time he just sort of treated it as like, oh, that's neat, but what are you really going for? It can't just be this weird old man. It can't just be this clown. It can't just be this ugly bug.
and he was like, "Well, yes, it is. I mean, no, I totally got something else." And he's like, "Oh, so these brats, wait." That's it. It's like, no, I got a bug, man.
I won't lie. I think that like this produced like the most interesting.
Oh yeah, no,
like,
the
the
Cell
era
Saga
design.
is like absolutely peak Dragon Ball Z. Cell is a fantastic enemy. It was
And
like,
Cell is also like it was his least favorite to draw just because he's a huge pain in the ass.
yeah, no, it's like there's got to be like
spots and shit. And
there's a
it's
million
really
details
complex.
on there, but you got to fill in by hand, and it
that's
sucks.
actually like, since we were just talking about Bleach, there's the one character like Renji or whatever, the redheaded
Renji
dude.
Abarai, yeah.
But if you ever notice, he's wearing a like 90% of the time he's wearing this like cool bandana, and the reason is because like in his first appearance he had a really prominent like facial tattoo,
He had like this really prominent facial tattoo that was hard to draw.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Yeah.
which nobody wanted to draw ever again. So
I
now he's
always
gonna wear a
think
bandana all the
of-
time.
I think it was like Bruce Timm who said about their redesign for what's Oliver
Joker?
Queen's girlfriend's name?
Oh.
Black Cat.
Black
Black
Canary?
Canary.
Black Canary. Yeah, he said, yeah. So like in the comics, she's always wearing fishnet tights, and we just gave her like normal tights, and the reason for that was one of the poor in-betweeners has to like draw that every single frame. And the idea of like making them do that, or alternatively making somebody write a program to like track all those lines, just felt too mean. So we changed that. We could not in good faith do that.
I think a lot about how Cell was inevitably followed up with a character who is an amorphous blob
I was gonna say
and can
big blob.
shift at any point, has no real details to color in.
Barely
Yeah,
wearing
exactly.
clothes.
Yeah. He's got pants and he's got like some dots on his head. That's it.
And you can like, it is very easy to like say, oh, he got rid of them for that moment. Doesn't matter. Who cares? But yeah, I
very
have.
rarely have nightmares. The one that I can remember was that my mom's cat is Cell.
Said what?
The one nightmare that I can remember having is that my mom's cat was Cell.
That's awesome.
And like,
So this
was the
seemed like
cat going
terrifying.
The introduction
tail
of Cell is easily the gnarliest thing that ever happens in Dragon Ball. To be
Oh,
fair,
yeah. Yeah, the
Like,
part
just-
where like
we just
he
watch a man
kills.
get the life sucked out of him.
Yeah. And like all of his scenes like doing that are just upsetting. Like the bits where like he like kills an entire football team.
It's like it is weirdly horrifying in a
Yeah.
way that Dragon Ball basically never is.
kills an entire football team.
Like just watching like a man
Watching
be
the clothing
drained of his internals
deflate.
and- yeah, as a man is drained of all of his internals.
Yeah. Everything that's inside a person just goes away slowly, and the skin is the last thing left. It's horrifying.
Yeah, it's genuinely one of the most like completely out of left field, like very much like responding to the criticism of these villains aren't intimidating enough.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
fuck
okay,
you, then.
motherfucker.
I'll show you
Blew up a planet.
intimidating.
But wait, who was criticizing?
Don't request things you can't take back, motherfucker.
Who was
Toriyama-
criticizing Vegeta and Frieza, saying they're not intimidating?
No, it was specifically that the androids weren't intimidating enough.
Oh, okay.
They conquered the world.
Yes, and
I
that
like
doesn't mean shit in Dragon Ball.
It's really cool that that guy whining about well, these what do you mean? There's an old dude and a clown gave us my favorites Dragon Ball characters, which are the androids.
You love
The androids
Lapis
are
and
just
Lazuli.
great.
Canonical human names for 17 and 18, Lapis and Lazuli.
I
I've
don't
never heard
think
this
I think it's
before.
also canonical, but
It's
they
only in
don't
like a
even
data book.
they don't even like remember those names. They just are like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I guess we had names once, not anymore though.
Yeah, they were only ever mentioned in a data book.
Yeah.
Not one that
And
they
like
had.
as a result, we get like 18 at like the first world tournament, giving her name to the like
Number 18!
clerk, and like he's just like, "Is that your name?" And she's just like, "My father was a dumbass."
The best response you could give. No, it's fine. My dad was real stupid.
My dad sucks.
I really like. We had this question of like, if you can only have one other character between all these Gokus and Vegetas for the new Dragon Ball sparking, what would it be? And I've seen a number of good answers, but I stand by my like the thing that captures the things. One of the things I love about Dragon Ball the most is to just put in the Great Saiyan Man.
The Great Saiyan Man
yeah.
is great. If I was like to give a serious answer instead of just obviously another Goku, obviously. It would probably be either Krillin or like Tournament of Power 17, where he's just like, he just came in like wearing his work uniform, like, all right, let's go.
He's a park ranger.
It didn't have like a chance to change. Wasn't gonna anyways.
Yeah, I was about to say he didn't care.
I also love that like 18, that entire like arc is just wearing like a tracksuit because she's a tired mom.
Yeah, normal.
Gohan goes to high school is probably my favorite part of.
It's one of the single funniest episodes that they did. Like, it's like that and the driving episode for like, oh yeah, we're just gonna do something silly, but like the Gohan goes to high school bits seem to just be from the manga. So it's one of those things that's like, oh, we get like the full Toriyama sensibility around it.
Super has a few really good. Oh yeah, no, this is just the episode where stuff just sort of happens, and like if you're wanting like huge plot developments, fuck you. I would say my favorite of those are like where Gohan deals with a small marital crisis, and also like reprises being the Saiyaman.
I love the Great Saiyaman, all the Great Saiyamans. Also, extremely wild to see they are still making DLCs for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
That's beautiful. I'm so glad to hear that.
Like
I heard about
they've
that.
reached
I
the.
thought it was something else. Like maybe they had released like a mobile game or something that I missed.
Nope, they are releasing a new DLC that covers like real like end of Dragon Ball Z shit. Like, it's Goku and Oob.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oob is like the most.
Oob is underrated. That was a fun.
Oob's
concept.
great, but like he's a character, but only appears in like the very, very post game.
Like 3 minutes of screen time, unless you count fucking GT, which most people will not.
Yeah, Oob feels like borderline part of GT to me.
Yeah, because like that's the only place you see any even mildly significant amount of him, and even GT rapidly loses interest in making any use of him.
Wait, did they not bring him back for Super at all?
He is not, because Super takes place in the gap between the end of the Buu saga and the like epilogue of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, the like distant future episodes of Dragon Ball Z.
Theoretically 5, which I know doesn't disqualify you in this universe.
Oh, absolutely not. Like,
But yeah, like canonically,
like
Goku has met
90%,
him,
like at least a good half of superhero is Pan being like, you know, an unstoppable force of nature, but also 4.
which is good. I appreciate
This
that. This is a
great.
tradition.
Also loved how like Piccolo got like a huge power up in that movie. Just like
Yeah,
as a,
I really appreciated it being focused on Piccolo and Gohan.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was
nice.
fantastic.
It had been too long.
I know, like the entire like all of Goku's like part in that movie was just him and Vegeta fighting for like 8 hours, and like Brawly just like watching, like tears in his eyes, like, oh my god, this is everything I wanted to see in my life. I didn't know I was missing out on this.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's wild to me because like I assumed that they were just like, oh yeah, we like I knew that there was a bunch of DLC for it, so I was like, oh yeah, that's probably done. And then it's like, nope, they're still doing it because CyberConnect 2 never did anything halfway.
I gotta say, Goggle Bob, I did not think you would make that shot. I'm impressed.
I knew where he was coming from, so it was one of two
I was
spaces.
so certain, like the door
Has that
across the
ever
way from me
guaranteed
was going to
victory
open
before?
up. Like there have been very few times, Goggle Bob, in my life when I was not like just ready to make fun of you, and this is one of them.
I do love the repeated set piece of like trying to create enough distance to kill the enemy.
Yes.
Yeah,
As it is
that's just
really,
really good.
really
Like,
hated.
it's just
I mean-
really good, like combination of game mechanics and level design. Like that's actually perfect. I really like that. Rip in peas, robot.
Also, I love that this game gives you the the wannabe space jump, where I just get one extra jump.
That's all you need
get
a lot of time.
Yeah,
You
like,
get the baby space jump.
Yeah, you get the
moon
baby
jump.
space jump before you just get the obliterate all vertical movement jump.
It's like the space jump boots in Metroid Prime.
Exactly.
I think the last like game I played where I got to the just fuck you vertical distance jump was Time Spinner. A game I have complicated feelings on. I don't think it's a
Time
bad
Spinner
game.
too.
Yeah, like that's interesting to me. I don't. The thing that like blew my mind about Time Spinner is like when I finished it, or like while I was playing it, I was like, okay, so there was a Julius mode here, right? And as near as I can tell, there wasn't. But there should have been, because I'm certain that like a Julius mode was planned, but like, you know, indie game, their reach exceeded their grasp. You know how it is.
You know how it is.
Julius mode? Do you mean Julius Belmont?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
like
the rival
it's referring to a
character
Julius
gets the vote.
mode style thing.
Yeah, because okay, so here's the thing that blows my mind about Time Spinner. There is a lengthy introduction where there are basically three characters: protagonist girl's mom, who is like, you know, the good mother, and stupid asshole bully everybody hates, right? And then she does the time fucker. She uses the time fucker 9000.
Me,
the fuck
time fucker.
9000, and like everything gets fucked up, and she's in like a new timeline where she was never born. Blah 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 blah. Who gives a shit? Whatever. Point is though, stupid bully is set up as like, you know, the main antagonist of her life before everything went to hell, but he's still a part of Timefucker Village that has the Timefucker, and he was like the guy who was.
Terms, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
These are technical terms.
These are technical terms. Yes, these are all canon. But he was supposed to be he was the other candidate for Timefucker, and he had all the same skills she had. Theoretically, she was just better at them because she was protagonist and he wasn't. And then as you go through the game, Stupid Bully never shows up again. He is just completely gone after getting a ton of custom sprites and like having the most detailed sprite in the intro. He's just a total non-entity. But you find all these like, you know, lore logs and shit, like diary entries and whatever. And he's in like half of them. He is all over the place in those things. And all of them are about how actually you were Stupid Bully. He was just a kid that was in like a horrible situation, and you were the one of the like 4 factors that was actively ruining his life. And you're like, oh damn, so he actually, you know, had some stuff going on. There's character here. There's development here. I wonder how they'll pay this off. It never pays off in any way. There is no, like, he never appears again. He is just gone. He is in the timeline that doesn't exist. And that's part of the thing. That's actually one of the things, because like half the game is about how like if you travel in time, the timeline you'll end up in is one where you were never born, so you don't have to deal with the whole, oh, what about 2 of me now thing, right? What happened to him was his dad was one of the time fuckers that had to do the time fucking like in his 30s after he already had a child. And like, so when he shows up in the new timeline and sees his wife and her 4 husbands, it's a polycule thing going on, he's like, where's our kid? And she's like, what kid? I don't even know you. And he's like, oh, fuck. So she like sort of like invites him into the polycule for like a week, but it doesn't work out. And he gets kicked out like shortly after she gets pregnant with his son. And his son is the bully, who is not the son that he wanted. So he hated new son. So everything about this kid's life sucks because of the time fucking. And I was just like, wow, okay. So they're like, you know, I mean, like, the bad guys in this game are very unambiguously the bad guys. They are absolutely Nazis. At one point, they say the 14 words, for fuck's sake. But the whole time, there is a character who is established and who keeps getting brought up in, like, all the lore bits as somebody who's on the same side as you, who wants the same goals as you, but hates your guts for absolutely good reasons. And I kept waiting for him to get, like, I kept waiting for that to get paid off, because I found that one of the most interesting parts of the game. And no, it never gets paid off at all. You're just, everything
Maybe they'll
you
do something
want,
with it in Time Spinner 2.
I really doubt they will. I just,
Maybe.
because, like, one of the things that was very obvious was that protagonist Lass was absolutely their favorite special baby. She could do no wrong, even as she did all sorts of stuff that was kind of, like, incredibly wrong. And, like, she gets a girlfriend, and, like, in the end, the good ending is she creates a new universe where she's the goddess of time. And, like, having, like, seen all this stuff that, like, felt, to me at least, like, well, we wanted to pay this off, but we just, we had only, like, we wanted the game to be released so we could make money. I guess it was one of those things where it's like, well, they probably should have just cut it entirely, but also they put so much work into it, they didn't want to do that. So yeah, it's a very weird, not paid off ending. And as near as I can tell from, like, the trailer and stuff, there is no part of, like, bully kid just will never be referenced again. He's just a non-entity.
He had his moment to shine and then stopped existing.
Did he?
Yeah, it wasn't even a moment to shine. It was a moment to be a dick.
That whole explanation.
Shining and something.
Yeah, he got like a reason to be a dick, and it was a reason that was like, why is this still in the game? Because this game already has a lot going on. You got the space colonialists and the space Nazis. There's a lot happening here. We didn't need, like, a sudden ton of moral ambiguity for a main character. This is unnecessary. You didn't need to keep doing this. It's a very strange choice. As far as the game itself goes, it's a pretty good Symphony of Night clone. So, if you want to play a pretty good Symphony of the Night, I say go for it. I think it's also, like, got a lot of DNA from that one Game Boy Castlevania, from that one DS Castlevania, Order of Ecclesia. So if you are hankering for a pretty good not Castlevania, I say give it a shot. But, like, it left a bad taste in my mouth in very weird ways.
Order of Ecclesia is the one DS Castlevania that I never finished.
That's good.
I really like the final battle in that one because it has, like, normal.
You're going to start talking about Strutula.
Yes, Strutula, Swagula. Just because, like, in a normal Castlevania, Dracula, like, turns into a huge demon or something for part 2 of the final boss. In this one, Dracula is just like, oh wait, I'm 12 feet tall. I can just stand up and step on you.
Big dude.
I am, in fact, very large.
I did enjoy how the later Dracula Castlevania games, they were obviously getting bored with just, like, oh, he turns into a big monster or whatever the hell.
Yeah,
It's
so Dracula just, like...
He turned into something really weird.
So, like, Dracula just standing up and being like, hey, turns out I'm enormous. I bet I could fuck you up without even trying. So I'm going to do that. Is one of my favorite Castlevania moments. And Ecclesia is just a pretty good game on the whole. Like, I enjoyed it a lot.
It's a unique little game. I'm going to blurt out for the nerds in the audience another strange piece of Ace Attorney trivia.
Go for it.
I found out recently that one of the writers for Ace Attorney 6, that game has, like, a pretty wild plot conception because it, like, ultimately ends up being about it ultimately ends up being about, like, let's send Phoenix and Apollo to another country and have them get into a legal dispute with the head of state.
That'll end well.
I mean, it's just a wild concept, just conceptually. But
I could see Phoenix just beefing, like, with, like, a prime minister, just because. Like, Apollo would be like, no, dude, don't dude, come on, be cool. And Phoenix would be like, hey, fuck you, buddy.
That final case is mostly just an excuse to say, hey, Apollo gets to be the one with the shine in this one. But and you do successfully get the head of state convicted of murder. But
oh, hey, you got the counter.
nice.
It happens every once in a
Yeah,
while.
it's so rare.
But that game, one of the people that is credited with its conception in some of its cases is a guy named Masakazu Eguchi. Masakazu Eguchi had worked at Capcom for a number of years because he was one of the core writers behind Mega Man Battle Network.
Well, there you go.
All right.
To the degree that like one of the mascot characters in Battle Network was a guy who runs around named Mr. Famous, and Mr. Famous is just like a weird guy obsessed with like his latest pair of sneakers and teaching children about how best to play Mega Man Battle Network. And Mr. Famous in Japan was quite specifically based off of Eguchi, because in Japan that character's name is Meijin Eguchi, which for the Japanese challenge is basically just like, you know, skilled man, great Eguchi, master Eguchi, whatever you want to say. But yeah, like Mr. Famous from Mega Man Battle Network wrote significant portions of Ace Attorney 6. And I think that's beautiful, and it also explains a great deal of how how someone managed to come up with an idea as insane as go to the country with all of the like spirit mediums and accuse the head of state of murder.
As one does.
Because that's an extremely Mega Man Battle Network concept.
I was about to say, you could probably write a book about the international relations that occur in Mega Man Battle Network, because it is it's an interesting view of the world. Let's put it that way.
I would describe Battle Network as being written by people with no intention of being racist, who are nevertheless being extremely racist routinely.
And
That's
weirdly
like
racist in like the weirdest ways.
Mhm.
I always think when the Mega Man Battle Networks got released quite recently, and with the note that said, "Hey, we don't condone this." I had not played those games in so many years. I was struggling to remember what exactly was racist about them, and I eventually, in my memory, settled on, oh right, that part where Lan has to rap.
Like, that is only the tip of the iceberg.
I'm sure
they were correct.
I'm sure that's just the one bit that stuck out in my memory.
Yeah, no, I understand, but yeah, like it's. I think that to the game's credit, I think that Ace Attorney 6 does make that work. It's also funny to see, to read about some of the ideas they had because they wanted to do something where it was like, well, we fully established that Phoenix is in many ways essentially untouchable in court. Like, we can't build up, like, in normal court, a threat of someone that seemingly could, like, you know, beat him in court. So it's like, well, we need to change the rules of court. So they were like, okay, well, it has to be somewhere else so that we can establish that, okay, the rules are different. Initially, apparently, the idea internally that had the most traction was that you were going to go to, like, weird underground courts that were run by criminals and worked on criminal rules.
Yeah,
So you would have, like...
I love it.
That is hysterical.
The first rule of Court Club is you have to litigate if it's your first fight.
I kind of wish that we could see that game, because, like, they were like,
yeah.
Criminal
because it would be
court.
like, okay, this was going to be like Mafia Court, where it's like, okay, the defendant is probably guilty of something, and so is the prosecutor, and so is the judge. And like,
I would like to see Phoenix in that one episode of Batman the Animated Series where the lady who hates the Batman has to defend her in supervillain court. Has to defend it in supervillain court.
That's basically the idea they were having, except it was an entire game.
Yeah. That episode's great because, like, her whole thesis is, like the supervillains are all saying Batman created us, and she's like, actually, you guys were just nuts. Like, you got more theatrics.
You would have been something else would have
You
happened.
would have been blowing up like buses had he not been there.
You just might not have been might not have been as flamboyant about
You
it.
might not have been like wearing these outfits, but like at one point she is cross-examining Poison Ivy, and Poison Ivy's saying, "Well, obviously Batman's why I'm the way I am," and she's like, "Really?" And she just starts plucking the petals off a flower, and Poison Ivy almost jumps over the the podium to get to her.
And also, I think
He's
that's
like,
the episode where literally Poison Ivy and Harvey Dent have to interact, and Harvey Dent's like, "Didn't you try to kill me when I was normal?" And she's like, "Well, yeah." Like, there was a whole assassination attempt.
Yeah, like the thesis there was, yeah, no, actually, you people are just weird.
I do also appreciate, speaking, just to finish some thoughts on Ace Attorney 6, like, that one is one of the strongest, like, overall games, even if I do have issues with it. But I do think that one of my favorite, like, ridiculous things that they did, simply because they needed to, they were like, well, we're, like, because at the time it was known that the guy who was the producer of the Investigations games and Ace Attorney 5 and 6, like, that was going to be his last game, so he's like, I want to put out something that functions as like a semi-closer while we let the series rest for a while. And so they were like, okay, we must, in some insane fashion, contrive an excuse to have Phoenix and Apollo on opposite sides of the court. Like, they contrived an excuse to, like, how can we create a dramatic context where Phoenix is acting as prosecutor? And they made it work. It's pretty fun. Recommended.
I like the idea of Phoenix being just like such a danger to or being just totally untouchable in court, because he really only takes clients that are innocent. He doesn't take guilty clients, like,
There's
more or
one
less.
case where he takes a guilty client, and that client is convicted.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate this, just the juxtaposition. There's, like, kind of a joke that flutters throughout Phoenix's rare interactions with Apollo in 5, that he kind of wants to take the kid down a peg. It's very strange, but it floats through his interactions that it's like the way that they ended up trying to make it work, given that, like, they now had to have several main characters, was that, like, Athena, who was the new character, like, it was easy to put her in a role because it's like, oh, she's the rookie. But where does that put Phoenix and Apollo, two characters who are supposed to actually be fairly experienced, and their decision for how to navigate that was that Phoenix was the one with essentially infinite, like, has an infinite reputation at this point, and knows the law, knows the trials the best. But they like, Apollo is treated as like this weird, like, he's the prodigy, like, he hasn't done as much as Phoenix, but he's, like, clearly kind of better at it, but doesn't have the experience to match up with it. And so, like, when we get those rare instances of Phoenix's internal monologue, there's, like, this bits of, like, this kid's really good, but also I kind of want to take him down a peg. It's
So is
very
the name
funny.
Apollo supposed to remind you of Apollo Creed?
No,
No.
it's supposed to remind you of the Greek god. We'll find out more if they ever give Apollo a son named Adonis.
Clearly, the Greek god is supposed to remind you of Apollo Creed.
I
Obviously.
mean, it does. That's what it does, but that's not what it was supposed to do.
I would play Adonis Creed, attorney at law.
I mean, I would too.
Phoenix Wright, the next generation.
Genuinely, I have no idea where they're intending to take the franchise, because, like, along with the collection, they were like, yes, we are working on a new game, but there's no idea who's actually making it. There's no clear idea, because, like, Shutakumi and Takeshi Yamazaki, the two people who've been in charge of the franchise before, had extremely different ways of handling it. Because if you look at, like, the writing credits for the games that Shutakumi has done, which would be 1 through 4 and Great Ace Attorney 1 and 2, he wrote all of those games. Like, he may have had, like, in some cases he may have had, like, assistants for certain aspects, but, like, all of the cases are just written by him. Which produces games that feel slightly more holistic, to some greater or lesser extent, when he's given the chance. There's definitely some growing pains in there. At least one case from Ace Attorney 2 got shifted into Ace Attorney 3 because it was just like, oh, this is going to take up too much GBA space, so we won't. Actually, probably a good call, because it's the worst case in Ace Attorney 3, and I'm convinced that if Ace Attorney 2 had... Because it was supposed to go, for those familiar with these games, it was supposed to... The case lineup for Ace Attorney 2 was going to be all 4 of the cases that are in Ace Attorney 2, and then the third case from Ace Attorney 3 was going to be sandwiched in there after the third case of Ace Attorney 2. The third case of Ace Attorney 2 and the third case of Ace Attorney 3 are both deeply in contention for the worst cases in the series. And I am fully convinced that if that initial case lineup had happened, that
no Ace Attorney 3.
I very much could see, like, we just don't need to make more. Because, like, the reaction, because that would have made it so that, like, a good half to 2/3 of Ace Attorney 2 was just garbage. Because, like, you get the circus case, which is just full of irritating characters who never shut the fuck up.
Fucking hated the clown. I don't think anybody liked the clown.
To the point
I
that,
have some
like,
bad
the
news
game
about people's reaction to the clown.
the game even, like, makes it the joke of, like, please stop asking things to the clown, please.
I think you're thinking about a different clown, Goggle
Oh,
Bob.
okay, yes.
Yeah, you were thinking of the clown from
I
6.
realized that after Fanboy was saying what he was saying.
Yeah, no, like there is the
There's the horny clown from 6, and there's the, like, irritating clown from 3. Or from 2.
Yeah, the clown from 2 is extremely not horny.
The clown and the mannequin, were they in the same case? No.
The ventriloquist dummy? Yes. They are in the same case.
Oh wow, what a terrible case.
It's really bad. Like, the mystery is not satisfying, and like, it's just talking to irritating characters for like 5 hours. And then Ace Attorney 3's third case, Recipe for Turnabout, is the one where, like, a weird Phoenix doppelganger pretends to be Phoenix in order to fuck up someone's trial, and somehow no one notices, and then you have to spend like 5 to 6 hours just talking to the most irritating people you've ever seen. That's also the one that has, like, the meme reference in the series that may have aged the worst, because there's just, like, a painfully labored "this is Sparta" joke.
Oh God!
I
And
do not remember that.
It's really bad, and also just to, like, it's the one game where, like, the resolution of the mystery, or the one case where the resolution of the mystery was so stupid that even I could not accept it. Because the resolution to the mystery is that guy dies, and then, in order to create an alibi, within 15 minutes, this other person creates a replica of the the crime scene using a gigantic mirror, and it's so unsatisfying. Like, it's not interesting when you hear it. It's just like, where did you get that mirror? Why would you have that on? Why would you have that on lock? This is stupid. And like, as a diehard Ace Attorney fan who has willfully sat through that case, because I've no less than 5 times, because that's how many times I've beaten Ace Attorney 3. That case sucks. It is just irredeemably terrible. And so I'm fully convinced that if the circus case had been followed by Recipe for Turnabout, like that would have been a powerful enough 1-2 punch to kill the franchise. But every case in a Shu Takumi game, in the Ace Attorney series, was written by Shu Takumi. Like, he is the principal author behind all of them. And Yamazaki, who did Investigations 1 and 2 and 5 and 6, had a very different way of going about things, because he basically treated it more like a TV writer's room, where it was like, okay, I'll oversee all of them, and I will assign out, like, you write this case, you write this case, you write this case. And that produced a very different feeling for how the games fit together, which is probably at least also in part why the stories... Oh, it's good to see this horrible thing back. The stories...
The X-Core.
The stories of Ace Attorneys, the Investigations games, and 5 especially, are often in very strange orders. Investigations 1 is in anachronic order in a way that makes no sense. Trying to remember what order those cases go in. 4, 2, 1, 3, 5, I think. I think that's the order of the cases in Investigations 1. It's anachronic in a way that makes no sense. But I think that part of the reason for why it tended to end up in this weird anachronic order is because it wasn't just one person writing them. I was also unsurprised to find out that Shu Takumi had basically nothing to do with the core plot of Professor Layton versus Ace Attorney. I could say so many mean things about that game. Sorry, I'm just in Ace Attorney mode right now.
Yeah, no, I never actually got around to playing that. What was the...
Don't fix it.
Huh?
Don't fix that. It's really bad.
No, I understand, but, further elaborate.
So, you know how, I remember, back in old Talking Time, there was a fucking thread that Devford made that was about the plot of the first Layton 3DS game.
Being completely insane.
An in-depth analysis of the worst story ever told is, I think, what it was called.
That sounds about right.
It sounds correct.
So Layton games have this thing they do. I think Callie had to listen to me rant about this last week. Layton games have this thing they do where they just... They cook up an explanation that eliminates the possibility of the supernatural in a way that's so mind-bogglingly stupid that you wish that it had just been magic. It would have made more sense if they had just said, yep, magic. With Layton versus Ace Attorney, they do that, but they also still force you to, like all Layton games, the reveal that it's not just magic is an endgame reveal. So every trial in the game revolves around the notion of you proving something by virtue of proving that magic is, using the rules of magic to prove that they couldn't have done it because of how magic works. And then at the end of the game, it's like, no, you fool, magic was fake. And it's like, yeah, that was a waste of my goddamn time. And you spend the entire game with Professor Layton standing next to you, and he by all appearances, already knows what's going on, and just isn't saying it for reasons that don't make much sense.
Because there would be no game otherwise. Duh.
There could totally be game otherwise. God damn it. I'm so angry. But yeah, beloved River Hill Soft employee / president of Level 5 Akihiro Hino seems to have written the majority of the game's actual plot, so his fault.
I was gonna say, when you say actual plot, you mean something that you dislike.
I mean the overall, like, the Layton bits, which are the core plot. Like, it is a Layton game that just happens to have Ace Attorney trials in it. And so, like, Takumi wrote cases that fit that, but, you know, like, it's still, like, any semblance of interesting drama from the trials is undercut by the fact that, like, you're spending the entire game proving things that you, the player, know cannot be true.
We were talking in the group chat about Penny Arcade lines that have stuck in our brain forever.
There's going to be, I have 12 matchstick.
I have 12 matchstick. Yeah, that was not going anywhere.
Matchstick.
I have 12 matchstick.
Fuck you!
Fuck you!
But, like, the other thing is that it has, like, an idea that would be revisited in Great Ace Attorney, but, like, that doesn't work because Layton characters and Ace Attorney characters don't work the same way. Because, like, in Great Ace Attorney, they add the ability for multiple people to be on the stand at once. And I believe that game limits it to 2. Like, 2 people can take the stand at once. That idea is kind of prototyped in Layton versus Ace Attorney, but for some reason there are up to 5. And that's way too many. It's way too many extremely Professor Layton characters who are just way too irritating.
Extremely Professor Layton character.
Because it's just like, oh, it's this... like, none of them are characterized enough for you to, like... Because, like, the idea in Great Ace Attorney is that, like, we're dealing with kind of an old-timey, sort of backwards court system, so 2 people can be on the stand at once, and, like, one of them saying something that confuses the other one is something that your character is allowed to bring up that, like, wait, why do you seem confused by that? Didn't you both witness the same thing? Like, that works. When it's 5 people, none of whom have had any real characterization, it's just like, oh god, I just want all of them to shut up. They're not enough character for this entire dynamic to work. And so, like, and it has that same problem that the investigations games have, where, like, so you have the weird Nightman who's the prosecutor, not the Nightman, the British Nightman, but this weird Nightman who's the prosecutor, and it has the same problem that investigations has, where the guy who is functioning as your prosecutor, the one who's supposed to be the intellectual rival, is just dumb as a sack of hammers. Like, I think they thought it was kind of funny to do with him, because it was like, oh, he believes in this, like, magic world, so he says all sorts of stuff that's just stupid as shit, because he believes in magic or whatever. But, like, since the entire game is forced to take him seriously, it's just irritating to listen to him, because he just will, like, talk on and on about how, like, witches work, and it's just like, Jesus, shut up. You're saying nothing that you're saying makes any sense, and none of it, I'm not even allowed to disprove it. You just get to prattle on about witches and shit.
You just get to prattle on about it.
These toys were buried as witches and defecated upon. Christmas still sucked in a big way. Sorry, I had to let the Aqua Teen in.
Never apologize for the Aqua Teen time.
Aqua Teen forever.
Aqua Teen, I'll be forever. Yeah. So, yeah, Layton versus Ace Attorney. it's a not great Layton game attached to the worst Ace Attorney game. That was before the original puzzle designer for Layton died, though, so some people might find some interest in that.
Yeah, I did always get the impression that it's like these are. I can understand why Layton and Ace Attorney combining sounds like peanut butter and chocolate, but I did really think about it, and you mentioned like there are the annoying Ace Attorney characters, and that was like the number one reason I never got into that game, because I figured the odds of there being of these things working together well with the essentially I have 12 matchsticks guy working with the clown people. Like, there were good odds that this sounded like a bad idea, and I feel weirdly vindicated having you confirm that.
Yeah, it just does not come together. It's a shame, but yeah, it just the ultimate. The only way I can describe the production is, yeah, this just kind of sucks. It's just bad. It's like I will admit, I ultimately could not be bothered to finish it. I got to the last case and was like, I don't care, and looked up what happened at the end.
Okay, it's 11:20, and I think we've reached the stopping point on talking about Ace Attorney. So
Yep.
I think we're going to
I'm playing Metroid 2 for that matter.
You're gonna hear about it next time.
Never
Tune
stop.
in next time for more about the game we're not playing.
Listen, I would 100% just play Ace Attorney, but no one wants to watch that.
I was about to say
How
that would
different
be
is that from the normal week, though?
it would be a weird stream.
Oh yeah, I wanted to also bring up before we leave, that Layton versus Ace Attorney has the dumbest, like, even by Ace Attorney standards, the dumbest name that a villain ever has.
Go on.
High Inquisitor Darklaw.
In a game involving lawyers, they have named the character Darklaw.
Yeah, High Inquisitor Darklaw.
Okay.
Not just Darklaw. High Inquisitor Darklaw.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that one,
Hey, yeah.
good night, everybody.
Good night.